Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was a Saiyan with One for All and Got Trained by DBZ Saiyan Part 2. Before we start, please go support Idron97 for writing that awesome fanfic. Chapter 6, USJ Attack and New Villain. Katsuki had woken up to the sight of his girlfriend Kami all cuddling up to him while she was still asleep. "Hey, Kami. It's time to get up," he said, trying to shake Kami awake. "No more sleep, more cuddles," Kami said in her sleep. "Well, I didn't want to do this, but..." Katsuki then stretched his hand on the other side of the bed where Kami wasn't sleeping. He then shot an explosion on that side without hurting her, but she was definitely wide awake now. "Katsuki! What was that?" Kami shouted, scared to death. Katsuki was dying of laughter. "Calm down, Kami! It was just my quirk," Katsuki said, still laughing. "Katsuki! You asshole!" Kami shouted as she was punching Katsuki on the shoulder, as he was still laughing. "What? How else was I gonna get you up?" Katsuki asked. Kami then started punching Katsuki on the shoulder again and again with Katsuki still laughing. Kami then quit hitting Katsuki and started pouting as she crossed her arms and looked away. "Oh, come on, babe. Don't be like that," Katsuki said, hugging her from behind, then started kissing her on the neck. Kami was trying to stay mad but then giggled at Katsuki's action. "Alright, Katsuki. You win this round. But don't do that again," Kami shouted. Alright. I won't do it again," Katsuki said as he smacked his lips onto hers as they kissed. Kami tackled Katsuki onto the bed as they started making out. "Katsuki! Breakfast is ready!" Mitsuki shouted. "Ugh! She ruined the moment," Katsuki said. "We can continue at a later time. We may even do something more," Kami said in a flirty tone. "Katsuki! Get your ass out of bed and get your ass down here!" Mitsuki shouted. "Oh, I'm coming, you hag! Jeez!" Katsuki said as both Kami and himself got out of bed and got dressed and went downstairs to eat breakfast. "What the buck is this?" Katsuki shouted, looking at the breakfast. "It's sausage and eggs. What does it look like to you?" Mitsuki shouted. "Well, this looks like a freaking hockey puck," Katsuki shouted as he picked up the sausage patty, then hit it against the table to see how hard it was. "And these eggs looked absolutely overcooked." "Oh, so you're just Master Chef now?" Mitsuki shouted. "I might as well be, now give me that!" Katsuki shouted, snatching the spatula out of his mother's hands. He looked back at Kami trying to eat the sausage patty. "Kami, throw that away. The hag over here can't cook for shit, so I'll be the one cooking. By the way, why the hell didn't you wake me up to make breakfast?" "Well, you looked comfortable, so I thought I'd let you sleep," Mitsuki shouted. "Ugh! From now on, wake me so I can make breakfast," Katsuki said as he started cooking sausage links, scrambled eggs and even some pancakes. "Now try this, and since you scared Dad away with your breakfast, there's plenty here." "Well, I gotta hand it to ya, brat. You're definitely a damn good cook," Mitsuki said as she and Kami started eating. "Well, I'd better eat quickly so neither me or Kami are late," Katsuki said. Earlier that day, with Izuku. Izuku woke up in a cold sweat. He woke up from a nightmare of his friends insulting him. Even his best friend Ochako was hurting him mentally and physically in said nightmare. Everyone was saying he was a villain, and that he deserved to die like one. It ended with Teshi Kajimoto ripping his still beating heart from his chest. After the thought of the nightmare he had woken up from, he started sobbing softly. The memory of him nearly killing Teshi yesterday was flooding back to him, and he started to realize he was starting to be like his father. Worst part was that he doesn't feel any sort of remorse for doing so. "Izuku! Breakfast is ready," Inko said to her son through the door. "I'll be down there in a minute," Izuku said, trying to calm himself down. Izuku went down to the dining room and had breakfast. His mother looked at Izuku and noticed that his eyes were red and puffy. She could tell that he'd been crying. "Izuku, are you okay?" Inko asked. "Of course, Mom. Why wouldn't I be?" Izuku asked as he had a fake smile. Well, I was just wondering because your eyes are all red and puffy like you've been crying or something, Inko said. I swear I'm fine, Izuku said, trying to sound convincing to his mother. Izuku, I've been around you enough to know something is wrong. So, what's wrong? Inko asked. Izuku at this point took a deep breath and sighed. He was silent for a minute and had a tear going down his face. Mom, do you think I'm a monstrous villain? Izuku asked. Izuku, why would you think that? You're not a villain and you've proven that time and time again, Inko said. Yes, but when that principal at my middle school was put in a coma because of me, I felt no remorse and I still don't, and yesterday I nearly killed Kajimoto without a second thought. I only stopped because I was told to, Izuku said with tears running down his face. Not to mention, before the entrance exam, Kaken apologized to me and I basically told him to never talk to me again. Now I can't get myself to even look at him. Inko went around the table and hugged her crying son. Izuku put his head on her shoulder and had his dam broken as he was crying loudly onto his mom's shoulder. It's okay, Izuku. Let it out, Inko said as Izuku continued sobbing. After that, Izuku calmed down and Inko looked at him. Izuku, I just want to let you know. You're not a villain. Like I said, you have proven time and time again that you were meant to be a hero. Don't let the harsh words of other people get to you, and especially don't let the fact that your father, which I already know you despise, was a murderous psychopath get to you either. Okay? Inko said. Izuku nodded. Good, now let's continue eating breakfast, and you should get ready for school. Okay? Okay, Izuku said. After that, they continued eating. Back with Katsuki. Katsuki and Kami went their separate ways, with Katsuki going to UA and Kami going to Shiketsu. When Katsuki made his way into UA and walked to where his locker was, Katsuki saw Izuku's group of friends he had with him. He saw how Izuku and Ochako were looking at each other, and could tell the two were obviously in love. He saw Ochako was so busy staring at Izuku that she forgot to stop by her locker to get something she needed. He then continued to go to his locker, and saw that his locker was right next to hers. He decided he was gonna have a chat with her. Uraraka, Katsuki said. Huh? Can I help you? Ochako asked. Not exactly, Katsuki said. Alright, look, a bakugo, was it? If you're gonna ask me on a date, the answer is no, Ochako said bluntly. That's not why I'm here. 1. You're not my type. 2. I have a girlfriend. 3. I already know how you look at Izuku Midoriya, Katsuki said, still feeling like he doesn't deserve to call him by his first name. Then what do you want? Ochako asked with a blush. Alright, look. You've known him for a good while and I know you two are pretty damn good friends, Katsuki said. Well, that's an understatement, but yes. We trained together to be heroes since I was 8. My quirk came in super late and was diagnosed quirkless when I was 4. Izuku inspired me to never give up my dream and helped train with me as well, Ochako said. Heh. Sounds like him. But anyway, how far are you willing to go to help him mentally? Katsuki asked. Mentally or physically, I want to help him as much as I can, even if it means I have to go to hell and back, Ochako said. Well, I'm glad he's starting to get happier. He's mentally traumatized though, Katsuki said. I know his dad is a villain, that same villain killed my parents, but I don't and will never blame Izuku for that, Ochako said. Well, I'm glad. He's a good friend. We were friends when we were little, but because of the coward I am, when I heard about his father being that tail villain, Hisashi, I was scared of him, and because of that, he was beaten senselessly by Kajimoto, even told Midoriya to kill himself, Katsuki said. Ochako was silent and fuming with rage from what she heard. When I get my hands on him, I'll. Ochako was shaking her fists in anger. She was upset and angry. You'll what, princess? Said a voice from behind Ochako. It was the arrogant atomic bomb, Teshi Kajimoto. What are you doing here with Boom Boom Blonde? You'll be coming with me. From now on, you're my hitch, my property. Like hell I am, Ochako shouted in absolute rage. I'm not giving you a choice. Teshi said as he tried to grab Ochako's arm, but Ochako channeled OFA and swiped Teshi's hand away, then kicked him where it mattered. Ayaha! Me nards! Teshi shouted in a high-pitched voice. Next time you talk about superiority, think about what just happened, Ochako said as she got her stuff, then went to class. Katsuki smirked at this. Looks like Izuku found himself a strong one, he thought as he got his stuff out of his locker, then went to class himself. After all of Class 1A were in class, Aizawa slithered in the classroom and crawled out of his sleeping bag and stood in front of the classroom, waiting for everyone to shut up. After everyone was quiet, Aizawa was ready to start the class. Alright. So, today we'll be going off campus, Aizawa said. We're going on a field trip, Mina shouted. Awesome! Only the third day of the year, and we're getting a field trip, Kaminari shouted as well. Everyone started cheering in excitement until Aizawa used his quirk to shut everyone up. This won't just be a normal field trip. This will be a place to train with your quirks in different ways, Aizawa said. Now get your hero costumes and get on the bus so we can all go. After that, everyone got out of the classroom, got their hero costumes and went on the bus. Since Izuku's hero costume was in tatters, he just put his gym suit on with some accessories with his hero costume, then went on the bus. Hey Izuku! Where's your hero costume? Ochako asked. Well, in the fight training, my costume got destroyed, so I'm just gonna wear this until I can get it repaired, Izuku said. I have to ask, Midoriya. What's your quirk? Tsu asked. Well, Aizawa told me that since my quirk had to be awakened from training as well as my tail, he believes that it's a Shaolin-type quirk, Izuku said. Well, whatever it is, you seem like you'll be a great hero, unlike Kajimoto, whose personality isn't hero-like at all, Tsu said. What was that frog hitch? I'll make fried frog legs out of you, Teshi shouted. See what I mean? Tsu said, pointing at a pissed-off Teshi. Basically, she's saying that your personality is flaming garbage mixed with shit, Kaminari said. Shut up, Duracell! Teshi shouted at Kaminari. You shut up first, Kajimoto, Aizawa said, glaring at Teshi. After a while, the bus arrived at their destination. Alright everyone, we're here. Get off the bus and enter the building, Aizawa said. At that, everyone got out of the bus and entered the dome building. Izuku was on high alert before entering the said building since he felt that something wasn't right. When everyone entered the building, they were all met with the Space Hero 13. Ochako was fangirling over her favorite hero with Izuku, just thinking she's adorable. And people think I'm obsessed with heroes, he thought. Alright everyone, calm down. Today we'll be practicing your quirks for rescue missions. With me being a rescued hero, I've trained myself with my quirk to get people out of horrible situations. But my quirk can kill people just as easily if not careful. You guys have incredible quirks, yes. But if you're not careful, all you'll do is kill, 13 said. Guess I should bring myself into the light now, said a scratchy voice. It was Tenko Shimura in his knee duster and face mask with his hood up. Hey cousin Izuku, Tenko said. Hey cousin Tenko, Izuku said, waving at the man. Yes Tenko. Just in time. Tenko over here is an underground hero who also takes part in a lot of rescues as well. His quirk is called Decay. He was trained in martial arts so he could fight villains without having to kill them. He uses his quirk to rescue citizens from rubble, or if he needs to break down a wall in a burning building, etc. 13 said. Yes. Just like Midoriya, I trained Tenko as well. But I brought Midoriya to Gunhead because he tired me out, so I thought I'd just have to handle one problem child. Tenko wears artist gloves to keep him from activating his quirk unintentionally, Aizawa said. While they were explaining their quirks and how they can use them safely, a purplish-black vortex showed up in the middle of the USJ. First, a young adult who looked to be somewhere in his 20s came out of the portal. He had white hair, red eyes, and he had a tail just like Izuku. After he crawled out, a bunch of other people came out of the portal. Oh sweet! We even have fake villains! Kirishima said excitedly. Those aren't fake, Those are real villains! 13. Tenko! Get all the kids out of here! Aizawa said as he jumped towards the villains. Aizawa! Wait! Izuku said. I'll be alright. Just go! Aizawa said, beginning to fight off the villains. As the students were about to escape, the one who made the portal in the first place appeared right in front of the group. Hello there, students of UA. It's a pleasure to meet with you. We are the League of Villains, and our boss wants us to kill Almight, but Mikumo Shigaraki has other plans regarding his half-brother, Izuku Midoriya. The portal villain said. I see that Almight isn't anywhere to be found, I'm sorry to say, but we can't let you leave alive, especially you, Izuku. At this, the students of UA fell through the portal and scattered. All except Izuku. What did you do to them? Izuku asked in anger. Your friends have all been scattered. If you want Mikumo to get my associates to spare them, you will face Mikumo. Izuku looked at Mikumo while Aizawa was still fighting off the villains. Alright, Izuku said. Mikumo! He shouted towards the villain. I knew you'd try and fight me, Mikumo said. Associates! Hold these heroes to keep them from doing anything stupid and make them watch. At this, the villains all held on to the heroes in training, making them watch the fight go down. Aizawa, Tenko and 13 were also being held down. Teshi wasn't held down by a villain, seeing that he wasn't gonna stop Mikumo from killing Izuku anyway. Izuku approached Mikumo face to face. Izuku! Ochako shouted as she was struggling to get out of the villain's grip. A pleasure to meet you finally, brother. What last name do you go by now? Midoriya? Mikumo asked. What do I need to do for you to free my friends? Izuku asked. Well, first off, if you come with me and maybe join our league, I'll spare your friends. If not, I'll just fight you and have your friends watch me kill you, Mikumo said. I won't join you, so let's just fight then, Izuku said in determination. Humph. I guess we'll do this the Saiyan way then, Mikumo said. What does he mean by that? Izuku thought. Mikumo then went for a punch towards Izuku, only for it to miss as Izuku threw his own punch that hit him on the side of the face, pushing him back. Mikumo rubbed his face from where he got punched. You've gotten stronger, Izuku. Now I know that I don't need to hold back, he said. Mikumo powered up and charged at Izuku again, but with much more force. The two half-brothers were going head-to-head while still powering up. Meanwhile, the villains that were holding Katsuki and Ochako were knocked out by the two in question. Katsuki beckoned Ochako for her to listen to him. Alright. You go help the other classmates, while I go help Izuku just in case things get sour. Do not try and help him, Katsuki whispered. Wait, if you think I can help him, what makes you think you can? If there's really someone who can go toe-to-toe with Izuku, then we have a real problem on our hands, Ochako whispered back. I understand, but I have a trick up my sleeve. Go and rescue the girl with a spiky ponytail and have her make a rag and a bottle of chloroform so we can quickly and quietly save the rest of our heads from being snapped, Katsuki said. Ochako looked down at Izuku to see he was still fighting the white-haired villain with a tail similar to Izuku's. She looked back at Katsuki and nodded before putting their plan in action. With Aizawa, Tenko and 13. The three of them had villains holding them down with their hands behind their back as they were forced to watch. A muffled scream could be heard from one of the villains. Aizawa and 13 saw an arm that looked like it was ripped off after being decayed. What the? One villain asked before being karate chopped in the neck and was forced to release Aizawa. Aizawa looked up to see who it was. There stood Tenko above the villain who held him down. Tenko then went to knock out the villain that held down 13 to free her. Alright. Let's go bring our students back to safety, Tenko said. The two other heroes nodded. Back to the fight between Izuku and Mikumo. Izuku was getting manhandled as Mikumo threw Izuku to a nearby wall. You fought well, Izuku. But not well enough. Now you will die with your precious friends, Mikumo said as he walked towards Izuku. Izuku had his eyes shadowed by his face. He took a weight off his wrist and dropped it on the floor. When the weight hit the floor, The whole USJ shook and made everyone in the dome building jump as the weight cracked the hard solid floor. He then took the weight off his other wrist as well as his 2 ankles and then took the weight off his waist with them all, making the whole USJ shake like an earthquake from all the weights Izuku was wearing. He then started glowing green with his eyes yellow when in this form. When Mikumo bared witness to this, he looked scared. Scared of how much more powerful his half-brother, Izuku, had become. I'm not holding anything back. For my friends. I will be a hero who saves everyone. Izuku shouted as he lunged at Mikumo at blinding speeds and then uppercut him through the roof of the USJ, then kicked him back to the ground as the ground shattered beneath him. Everyone was amazed at Izuku's power while Teshi was just in his hiding spot, not having a care in the world about what happened. He was actually rooting for the white-haired villain to kill Izuku. How is the USJ still standing after this? Kaminari asked in surprise. Izuku then drove his foot down at the villain's face, pushing him further underground. Izuku then grabbed his arm and then threw Mikumo up in the air just for him to be drilled into the water area as he charged at him into the water, making a giant pillar of water as the boat flew out of the area. Ribby-it! Tsu shouted as she flew out of the boat. Luckily, she was able to get herself to safety thanks to her frog-like abilities. Izuku threw Mikumo out of the pillar and into a mountain where Izuku started going ham on him. He was punching and kicking Mikumo till blood was drawn as well as a few broken bones as well. Izuku threw Mikumo over his shoulders and hard on the ground as he slid. Ugh, enough! Associates, kill this wannabe hero's friends! Mikumo shouted. He looked around to see none of the villains standing. All the villains were knocked out and saw that the students were all safe and protected by the teachers. It's over, Mikumo! It doesn't have to end in death. You can still be a hero through rehab, Izuku said. Mikumo gritted his teeth. You think I want to join this pathetic life? The strong should rule the weak, not protect them. Unlike you, I'll honor the path that our father has paved for us. I'll follow a path that only a true Saiyan warrior should, Mikumo shouted. He then got a syringe out from his sleeve, then stabbed himself in the neck with it. Veins started popping out from his head as his eye pupils disappeared as his hair started going from white to gold. The whole USJ at this point started shaking as the lights and windows were shattering. This is the power that a Saiyan shall behold. A power that you lack. Aizawa! Get everyone out of the building, now! Izuku shouted as he was now facing a monster. Midoriya! You don't seriously think we'll just leave you, do you? Ida shouted. Yeah, man! Don't do anything stupid! Kirishima shouted as well. Just go! I'll handle this, just please go! Izuku shouted back. Izuku! Please be careful! Ochako shouted through tears. Izuku's friends didn't want to leave him with such a beast. But they all just went with it. Teshi was the last one out before looking at how screwed he thought Izuku was one last time before smirking and heading out himself. Alright. Let's see if we have everyone besides Izuku who is fighting that villain, Aizawa said. Everyone was shaking badly and hoping that Izuku would make it out alive, especially Ochako. Mina was hugging her as she cried on her shoulder. Wait, where's Bakugo? With Katsuki. He was hiding behind a mountain as Izuku was going toe-to-toe with the villain. He was frightened by the sheer force of the power this guy gave off. Izuku was fighting desperately while his head was bleeding from the top of his forehead, and his eye was blackened as well as bruised all over his body. But despite the odds, he kept fighting. Izuku! Katsuki heard a voice from the entrance of the USJ. It was Ochako. She was running towards the villain with her strength-enhancing quirk activated. Leave him alone! Ochako! No! Get out of here! Izuku shouted desperately. But his words fell on deaf ears as she tried to punch Mikumo only for her punch to be caught in his bone-breaking grip. Mikumo then grabbed her by the back of the neck. So this is the life you protect? So pathetic and weak. Just look at her, squirming as she tries desperately to have me let go of her, Mikumo said. Let her go! Izuku shouted in anger. Not gonna happen, Mikumo said. Izuku! It's going to be okay, Ochako said in tears. No! Don't kill her! Izuku shouted. Say goodbye to your friend, Mikumo said. No! Izuku shouted as he ran towards Mikumo. Ochako was bracing herself for death, but she heard a battle cry not from Izuku, but from someone behind her. The scream was then followed by a giant explosion which just so happened to cause Mikumo to let go of Ochako. Ochako ran up to Izuku and hugged him tightly, with Izuku doing the same thing. I thought I told you not to try and fight, Katsuki said in frustration. Ochako, don't ever do that again. I couldn't bear to lose you, Izuku said with tears streaming down his face. Please get yourself to safety. Izuku, you don't have to do this alone, Ochako said, tears going down her face as well. And I didn't. You helped our friends escape. Now go with them, please, Izuku said. Ochako took a deep breath before looking at Izuku with a tear-stained face. Okay, Izuku, please, be careful, Ochako said as she ran off. Izuku looked to see where the explosion came from and saw Katsuki Bakugo with a pin pulled out of his gauntlet. I'm done running. I'm done being scared. And I'm done not doing anything. I'm training to be a hero, goddammit, and I'll be a bucking hero, Katsuki shouted. Mikumo looked at Katsuki and smirked. So the son of the traitorous Saiyan Masaru. The one who left the way of a Saiyan just so he could have an easy life with a family. How pathetic, Mikumo said. You shut your mouth, Katsuki shouted as he started throwing explosion after explosion in a fit of rage as the smoke and explosions swallowed Mikumo. Katsuki was just going absolute ape shit on Mikumo, with every explosion being the equivalent of a nuke. Kaken, Izuku said as he was watching his childhood friend fight off the villain with all he had to protect him. From now on, DKU, I don't care if you don't see me as a friend anymore. I'll make sure I earn that title again. Another thing, you said this yourself, the name DKU is now a name of a hero. It no longer means what that atomic hitch says, Deku means you can do it. Katsuki shouted as he tried to encourage his childhood friend as he was throwing explosions continuously. Izuku smiled at Katsuki's words. Katsuki ceased his explosions with smoke flying everywhere. It looked as if Katsuki succeeded in killing the villain. Katsuki was breathing heavily as he was internally celebrating. But that celebration was short-lived as a hand reached out from the smoke and grabbed Katsuki by the neck. Kaken! Shouted Izuku. The smoke cleared as Mikumo powered up, waving the rest of the smoke away. How touching! Trying to reunite with your once good friend from childhood. But it won't matter. That traitorous Saiyan has dishonored the name. Now he'll have to pay the price for being as such, with the death of his own son, Mikumo said. No! Stop this, Mikumo! It doesn't need to end this way, Izuku shouted desperately. With his injuries, it was hard for him to move as he watched Mikumo point a finger towards Katsuki's chest. Buck him up, Deku! Katsuki said as Mikumo shot a quarter-sized beam through his chest. Mikumo then threw Katsuki to the ground as he puked up blood and his body went limp. All Katsuki saw was white. He then saw that he was a child again while in that same river he fell into all those years ago. Kaken! Said a little Izuku holding his hand out. Are you okay? Katsuki looked and saw that none of his stupid friends were anywhere near. It was just him and Izuku as kids. Katsuki then reached for Izuku's hand and grabbed it. As he did, he was back to his 16-year-old self as the vision he had went back to white. Katsuki then saw a giant red man with horns at a desk as he approached the giant man. Back with Izuku. Izuku saw that his childhood friend was dead. The fact that he died with him thinking Izuku was still mad at him, saddened him and was angered at Mikumo for taking the chance to accept his apology ever again, or even apologizing to him for his harsh words. No and no. No! Izuku shouted as he had veins popping out of his head with his pupils disappearing as his hair started turning a bright lime yellow, while he let out a pained scream with a green pillar of light shooting up into the sky. A green aura was seen from Izuku as the USJ started crumbling as pieces flew up into the air. Mikumo! I'll make sure your death is as slow and painful as possible, Izuku said in pure rage. He flew towards Mikumo and slugged him across the face. All the pain Izuku had flew right out the window as he was mercilessly beating Mikumo until he was nothing but a sack of broken bones. Izuku kicked Mikumo in the arm as his arm shattered in multiple different locations. The sky was darkened as the lime yellow-haired hero was making the golden villain into a cripple. Aizawa got all the students on the bus and drove out of the sight of the USJ and back to UA before anyone else was hurt. Izuku was still laying into Mikumo with his arm broken, ribs shattered, eye torn out, etc. Mikumo was laying there as broken as can be with Izuku standing over him. Mikumo was dropped into his base form as he was too broken to keep up the form he had. Izuku then picked Mikumo up by his hair and looked into his one eye. You ordered your associates to kill my friends and then you were going to kill my best friend of whom I have feelings for and then go and kill my childhood friend? Izuku said in anger. How about I kill you to keep you from hurting anybody else? Izuku then head-butted Mikumo and then punched him in the gut as he went flying into a wall with Mikumo coughing up blood. Izuku was walking towards Mikumo who only laid there in pain and fear. Before Izuku could do anything else, Izuku was shot by a beam through the chest and nearly pierced his heart. Izuku dropped into his base form and then fell on the ground with him heavily breathing trying to keep himself alive. Damn! This thing works! Said a villain, recovering from being knocked out. Kurogyri! Warp us all out of here, now! I'm on it! Said the portal villain named Kurogyri. He warped Mikumo with the rest of the villains out of the USJ, which was destroyed completely as parts were falling down. Izuku was just laying there covering his pierced chest as blood was trickling out of him like a river. Get these two to the emergency room, now! A voice shouted. Before Izuku closed his eyes, he could see a kid about his age with a green mask with antennas on the top, and what looked like a pair of shades. It'll be okay. You'll both make it. I swear! Said the voice with cracks of sadness. Izuku then closed his eyes as if he had accepted death. Both Izuku and Katsuki were rushed to the hospital with the doctors trying to revive the two. Meanwhile, at an unknown location. OW! Mikumo was heard yelling with him being wrapped all over with bandages. Keep still! Will ya? Said one of the doctors. It's hard to stay still when you keep touching me where it hurts, Mikumo said. Heh. Speak for yourself. Toga is still numb from the waist down from what you did to her last night, Dabi said. Oh, shut up! Mikumo said, angered. Hey! I'm not the one who bucked her last night. I didn't get to sleep at all last night with Toga just begging and screaming for you to stop with that screaming and moaning lasting another 2 hours. I'm not sure whether to be impressed with you or feel pity for Toga. Like, geez. How did you not get her pregnant? Dabi asked in an impressed tone. I used Ki. Oh wait. You don't know what that is because you have quirks you burned up Saiyan, Mikumo said. Bold of you to insult me when you're the one who's broken in several different places, Dabi said. You're lucky that we're working for each other. Once we get our hands on a Senzu bean, we need to get you one. You're really hard to look at, Mikumo said. I'm aware, Dabi said. You look like an avocado that had hex with an older avocado, Mikumo said. Thank you, Dabi said. That was not a compliment, Mikumo said. I know, Dabi said. The monitor in the room then turned on to see the boss who was wearing a black industrial mask. My boy Mikumo. Are you alright? The boss asked. I'm bandaged up from top to bottom with every bone broken. Do I look alright? Mikumo shouted. Now, Mikumo. You know I don't have eyes anymore, the boss said. Oh, right. Anyway, we didn't get to kill Almight like you wanted because he wasn't there. But I did manage to kill the son of one of the two traitorous Saiyans who just so happened to be one of Almight's students, Mikumo said. Excellent! You have left a scar and the symbol of peace pride. Once word gets out about this, the hero society will crumble, the boss said. So see this as a win, Mikumo. You are worthy as a successor for my quirk, all for one. Meanwhile, at the hospital, with Izuku. Izuku was lying on his hospital bed hooked to Inform machine. The doctors successfully revived him, seeing that the ray gun had missed his heart when it went through his chest. The ones in the room with him were Ochako, Inko, and Toshinori. The rest of Izuku's friends were in the common area, as well as the spiky-haired boy who brought Izuku to the ER, and the other teens were trying to comfort the boy as he was beating himself up for not arriving sooner. In Katsuki's room, he had the plug pulled on him, seeing that there was no way to revive him, seeing that the beam hit him directly in the heart and went right through it. Kami was in the room bawling her eyes out as she laid her head on Katsuki's chest, with his parents crying themselves at the sight of their son dead. Kami had lost her lover and was wishing that Katsuki would just sit up and hug her, knowing that it wasn't gonna happen. Back with Izuku. Izuku slowly started to open his eyes to a bright white light. He blinked to adjust his eyes to the light. When they were fully opened, he could see Ochako, his mother, and Almight sitting next to his bed. He could feel Ochako gripping his arm as she was looking down. It looked like neither she, his mother, or Almight noticed that Izuku was awake. "Ochako?" Izuku said. Ochako darted her head up to see that Izuku was awake. "Izuku!" Ochako shouted as she threw herself on top of Izuku as she hugged him tightly as possible, as well as kissing him, making Izuku blush madly. All Might and Inko smiled at this and gave him a thumbs up. "Good to see you're awake, young Izuku," All Might said. "Izuku, I was so worried about you. I was scared that I may never see you again," Inko said with tears. Is everyone safe?" Izuku asked. "Thinking about others before yourself, I can still see. Everyone is safe thanks to you, but young Bakugo he." Toshinori began to tear up at the thought of one of his students dying from a villain. If only I was there sooner, if only I hadn't gone over my limit, I would have been there." Toshinori had started crying, with Inko comforting him. "Keikaken, he's really dead?" Izuku asked with his eyes watering. "I'm sorry, young Midoriya, it's my fault," Toshinori said through tears. "No, Toshinori. It's not your fault," Inko said. "She's right, it's mine," Izuku said. "I was the one that the villain was after. It's my fault, it's all my fault." Izuku himself began to cry, with Ochako hugging him tighter. "Midoriya, don't blame yourself, and you Yagi, you shouldn't blame yourself either," Aizawa said as he entered the room. "We're all saddened by what happened, but Bakugo knew what he was getting himself into as soon as he joined this school. Everyone evacuated the USJ, but Bakugo stood behind for whatever reason. Midoriya, I don't know what you did back there, but because of it, you saved the rest of our hides, but the USJ was completely destroyed. Other than that, you did good today. I'm sorry for what happened. Also, all the students will be moved into dorms and will have 2 weeks to recover from what happened today." "I don't have a problem with Izuku being in a dorm where all his friends are next door to his room," Inko said. "Also, Aizawa said as he pointed at Izuku and Ochako, where Ochako was still on top of Izuku, hugging him like a teddy bear. Izuku and Ochako then became blushing messes, with Ochako getting off of Izuku. Ochako's face then got redder with her realizing that she kissed him on the lips. She was just hoping that Izuku would forget that. Which we all know he won't. Anyway, the funeral will be tomorrow. So right now, once you get discharged, go and pack up your things and get ready for the dorms," Aizawa said. "Yes, sir," Izuku and Ochako said in unison. After a while, Izuku was discharged from the hospital and all of Izuku's friends were following him home. "I hope we run into that guy again," Tsu said. "He seemed pretty friendly, although he was really upset, saying I wish I was there sooner. He seemed like he was beating himself over what happened." "Yeah. He's the one who brought you and Bakugo to the ER as soon as possible. He seems really manly," Kirishima said. "He has truly helped out. Though he needs to know that none of this is anybody's fault. Bakugo has died knowing he died a hero," Ida said. "Yeah, I guess if I ever run into that guy you guys were talking about, then I should thank him once I do," Izuku said. "He said his name was Gohan. But that's all we know about him before he left," Mina said. "He truly had darkness within him," Tokoyami said. "Not now, Tokoyami," Tsu said. "My apologies, Tsu," Tokoemi said, crossing his arms and tilting his head down in regret with dark shadows sobbing. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow, Izuku said. Midoriya, Ida said, grabbing Izuku's arm before he went into the apartment complex. I just want to let you know, we're all glad that we're friends with you and we're glad you're still here. The group nodded at Ida's statement, and Izuku smiled at them. Thanks, Ida. I'm thankful I have friends like you guys, Izuku said as he walked into the apartment complex and into the apartment that he and his mother are staying in. Izuku let out a few tears from all that had happened today. Izuku entered his apartment. He took his shoes off and was about to head into his room. Inko then ran up to her son and hugged him as tight as possible. Izuku then hugged her back and started crying on his mother's shoulder as he hugged her with his tail to add to the hug. It's okay, Izuku. Let it out. You've been through a lot today, Inko said as she rubbed circles around Izuku's back as he continued the waterworks. Toshinori already got everything you need packed up and into the dormitory. He didn't need to do that, Izuku said. No, but he knows how much you've been through in one day. He feels really bad that he couldn't help in any way, so he wants to help in any way he can now, Inko said. I'm just so glad you're alive, Izuku. I thought I was gonna lose you for sure. I couldn't bear to lose you like Mitsuki and Masaru lost Katsuki. Inko then started crying herself. I'm sorry, Mom, Izuku said as his face was still having tears running down his face, making Inko's shirt wet. Don't apologize, Izuku. I want you to know that I'm here whenever you need me. Please don't ever forget that, Inko said. I won't, Mom. Thank you, Izuku said. The two of them stayed in their hugged position for a while as the two were crying on each other's shoulders. Chapter 7: A Bittersweet End. The day of Katsuki's funeral had come and all of Class 1A was invited. They all came except for Teshi, who couldn't be bothered to show up. Katsuki was being laid to rest in the hole that was dug 6 feet below. The ones who took this loss the hardest were Katsuki's parents, Izuku, and of course, Kami, who was sobbing hard as her best friend from middle school, Mina, was comforting her as best she could. Mina knew she was dating Katsuki but hadn't interacted with the explosion boy but shipped him with Kami nonetheless. I'm so sorry, Kami, Mina said with tears running down her face. It's not your fault, Mina, Kami said as she hugged Mina, crying on her shoulders. Izuku was sitting on a rock nearby as he had his hair shadowing his eyes. Ochako and Ida went to comfort their friend. Izuku had tears rolling down his face as Ochako hugged him tightly and Ida put a hand on his shoulder. Hey guys, I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick, Izuku said. The two friends nodded and had Izuku be on his way. As Izuku went to the restroom that's in the cemetery, Izuku went to the sink and turned the faucet on and splashed water onto his face. He looked in the mirror, and he hated what he saw. He had red puffy eyes from crying and he seemed paler than normal. He glared at his reflection and let out a scream as he punched the mirror, shattering it. Damn it! He yelled out. He then sat on the floor with his back towards the wall as he hugged his legs with his head on his knees in sadness. He then heard a voice. Izuku, the voice said. It sounded familiar. Kaken? Izuku asked. Kaken, where are you? Is this some sort of prank? If so, then it's not funny. No, dumbass. I'm actually talking to you telepathically thanks to this fat blue elf here in Otherworld, Katsuki said. Who are you calling a fat blue elf? What's going on here? Izuku asked, confused. Right. The fat blue elf is actually named King Kai, Bakugo said as he got slapped in the back of the head. Oh. You better remember that I'm the one training you. You also need some training in anger management like a certain full-blooded Saiyan that Goku over there happens to know, King Kai said. Hey! Are you talking to the friend of this blonde half-Saiyan? Tell him I said hi, another voice said. So you're talking to me from the afterlife? Izuku asked. Yeah, pretty much, Katsuki said. By the way, there's these things called Dragon Balls. If you collect all 7 of them, then a dragon will appear to let you wish whatever you want, Goku said. Wait, really? Izuku asked. So can I wish Kaken back to life? He then heard laughter from King Kai. Ha 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 ha! What kind of name is that? Ha ha ha! King Kai shouted in laughter. Hey! Shut up, fat ass! My name is Katsuki Bakugo! Don't you forget it! Katsuki shouted. And to answer your question, Izuku, yes, you can bring someone back to life. But if you do happen to collect all 7 Dragon Balls, don't bring me back. But Izuku said. I know. This was sudden. Honestly, getting my heart and lungs blown out from my back was not how I planned to go out. And you're still in regret from our last conversation, but honestly, how could I blame you? Bakugo said. Kacchan, I'm sorry. I should have never said those awful things to you. Izuku said. If I had just forgiven you then. Izuku, even if you had forgiven me, I feel like that whole thing would still happen. By the way, Round Face is right about the nickname Deku. It kind of does give a you can do it kind of feel. Katsuki said. By the way, would you two get together already? For once I agree with the Boom Boom Blonde, the rest of the gods are wondering why you two haven't stuck your tongues in each other's mouths yet. King Kai said. Izuku's face went so red that the whole room could feel the heat from Izuku's face. But seriously, it doesn't take godly powers to know you two obviously like each other. But it would probably take powers beyond a god to know why the hell you're so dense. King Kai added. Aye, you're right, Izuku said. That's the first time you ever said I was right about anything, Katsuki said. Oh, good grief. Alright, can you let go of me now? My back is cramped, and we need to get you into training, King Kai said. How the buck are you even supposed to move in this gravity anyway? Katsuki shouted. Trust me, you'll get used to it eventually, Goku said. Shut up, shitty-haired dunce face, Katsuki shouted with the voice fading. Izuku wiped the tears from his eyes as he chuckled. I guess I should go confess to her, Izuku said. He then walked out of the restroom. Outside of the restroom, Ochako was waiting for Izuku. Aizu, are you okay? She asked him. Why, yeah. I just, never mind, I'll probably sound crazy, Izuku said. Izuku, you could tell me anything, Ochako said. Let's just forget about it. Why don't we just go meet up with Aizawa for the dormitory? Izuku said. The rest of Izuku's friends were waiting for the two outside of the cemetery. Tsu, Tokoemi, Ida, Kirishima, and Mina. Hey buddy! You alright? Kirishima asked. I'm fine. Why don't we go do something after Aizawa shows us the dorms to get our minds off of things? Izuku said. All our minds are darkened by the events that took place, Tokoemi said. Not now, Tokoemi. Let's not have the mood go down even lower, Tsu said. Indeed. I apologize for my words, Tokoemi said. What none of them knew was that Katsuki's deceased body had disappeared in the casket. After that, the group started walking in silence. All of Class 1A were in front of the building, Heights Alliance. Aizawa was standing next to a teen with black spiky hair. Alright. I'm aware that what happened recently was a tragedy. That's why we're putting all of you in dorms to keep this from happening ever again. Also, we have a new student. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Aizawa said to the teen. Hey. I'm Gohan. The teen named Gohan said as he bowed to his new classmates. Anyway. All of your stuff has been moved into your dorm rooms. I'll give a tour of the dorms and I'll leave you all alone, Aizawa said as he entered the building with the class following behind. Everyone was amazed by the looks of the insides. Except for Momo. This is the size of my room, said the rich girl. This is bigger than my house, Ochako said as she fell backwards only to be caught by Izuku's tail. Careful there, Ochako, Izuku said as he picked Ochako up and put her back on her feet. Anyway. The girls' dorms are on the left of the building with the boys' dorms on the right of the building. Each dorm has their own bathroom as well. Make yourself at home. I'm going to nap. Don't cause any problems. I'm talking to you, Kajimoto, Aizawa said as he glared at Teshi. It was obvious that he didn't like the nuclear boy a bit. He walked out of Heights Alliance, and possibly to his own home that's close to the dorm building. Hey guys! Let's go to Midoriya's room to hang out, Mina said. Let's not, Izuku said. Aw, why not? Mina asked. He's probably embarrassed at the fact that it's decorated from top to bottom with Almight, Ochako said, giggling, making Izuku cover his face from embarrassment. Aw, come on, man! It can't be that bad, Kirishima said. Izuku, it wouldn't hurt to at least show them, Ochako said. I guess, Izuku said as he was ready to be embarrassed at full force. The group of 7 then entered Izuku's room to see that there was All Might everywhere. Dear God, Tokoemi said as he was shocked at the amount of merch Izuku had. I had no idea you were such a fan, but Midoriya, Tsu said. There's nothing wrong about having an idol to inspire you to become a hero. But how much merch of All Might do you have? Ida asked. This is so embarrassing, Izuku said as he was hiding his face. Alright. Let's go hang out in my room instead. It's pretty plain, Ochako said. Yeah. Good idea, Mina said. At that, the Deku squad went on their way towards Ochako's room. They then encountered Teshi, who had an angry look. He then approached Izuku and punched him across the face. This is all your fault, he shouted. What the hell, man? Kirishima said in anger. You should have just killed yourself. That monster was looking for you and only you. You are the reason why Bakugo died. You were his main target. You are his main target. You should have never came here. If you were never here in the first place, then Bakugo would have still been alive, Teshi shouted. Izuku had his hair cover his eyes with tears streaming down his face. He then ran off, clearly crying. Midoriya! Wait, Ida said. Alright, buddy. That was way too far, Mina shouted in anger. Yeah. So unmanly, Kirishima said. What I said is the truth. If he never came here, then no one would get hurt, Teshi said. You nuclear piece of shit. We just had his mind lifted from the darkness caused by Bakugo's death, Tokoemi shouted in absolute rage with Dark Shadow just livid, cracking her knuckles. Beat it, bird brain, Teshi snapped as he pushed him down. He then turned to Ochako and grabbed her arm. And you, why are you hanging around with that murderous psycho? Teshi snapped. Perhaps I didn't make myself clear. You're my hitch. Ochako was fuming with rage. All she saw was red at that point. She swiped Teshi's hand away from her, kicked him in the groin to get him down to her level, and grabbed his neck using One for All to add to her strength. She was using 70% at that point, and Teshi was struggling to get out of Ochako's grip with the rest of the group trying to pry her off of him, with it being futile. What Teshi had just told Izuku imbued Ochako with blistering rage. Teshi's face was then turning purple with Ochako squeezing his neck harder. Uraraka! Please stop! We're all angered by Kajimoto, but this won't solve anything, Ida pleaded. Well, it'll definitely do the world a bucking favor, Ochako shouted as she was still strangling Teshi. Suddenly, 2 arms grabbed Ochako from under her arms, with Ochako kicking and screaming. Let me go! She shouted. Teshi was on his hands and knees, gripping his throat as he was trying to catch his breath. You can get out of here, said a familiar voice towards Teshi. I'll make it clear, round face, you are my hitch, Teshi said. He then got slapped across the face with one hand, with the other one still holding onto a pissed-off Ochako. I said, beat it, shouted the voice in a dark tone, actually scaring off Teshi. The arms then let go of Ochako. Sorry I had to do that. But I figured killing him would probably get you expelled and possibly arrested. Thank you for that, Gohan, Kirishima said. It's no problem. By the way, we should probably go find your friend before he does something stupid, Gohan said. I highly agree, Tokoemi said. The Deku squad then went towards Izuku's dorm door. Ida was the one to knock first. Midoriya! Please open! We're worried about you, Ida said. Midoriya, I know you're in there and I know you're upset. Trust me, I've been in your shoes before. Just please open the door," Gohan said. "By the way, what's your name?" he asked Ochako. "Uraraka," Ochako said. "Yeah, Uraraka nearly strangled that black-haired guy to death," Gohan said. Ochako then knocked on the door. "Izuku, please open the door. None of this was your fault, and what Kajimoto said was complete bullshit," said Ochako. After what Ochako said, the door slowly opened to see Izuku with a tear-stained face once again. "Izuku!" Ochako shouted as she threw herself onto Izuku. Mina was internally squealing with sparkles in her eyes. "Alright. Before we were rudely stopped by the nuclear asshole, let's all go hang out in Uraraka's room," Mina said. The group of 7 turned 8 then walked towards Ochako's room. With no interruptions by said bully, the Deku squad with Gohan as the new member made it into Ochako's room to see it was rather spacious. Once there, everyone sat in a circle with Ochako sitting up on her bed. She offered Izuku to sit with her on the bed, of which he took her offer with Mina smirking. "I'm sorry I was upset," Izuku said. "Izuku, it's okay. What Kajimoto said was completely false and none of this was your fault," Ochako said. "Yeah. Buck Kajimoto," Mina said. "Ashido. Language," Ida said with his signature hand chops, although agreeing with her. "Honestly, when I first saw him, I told Fumi that I didn't know they stacked shit that high," Dark Shadow said. Tokoyami snorted, trying to hold in his laughter. The rest of the Deku squad bursted out laughing from Dark Shadow's comment. "Hey, Midoriya?" Gohan asked. "Yeah?" Izuku asked back. "Principal Niza asked to see me and you tomorrow for something. I'm not sure what though," Gohan said. "Oh, okay. I wonder what he needs," Izuku said. "Probably gonna praise the both of you for how manly you two are," Kirishima said. The Deku squad were chatting with each other and laughing as well. After a while of hanging out, the Deku squad was heading out of Ochako's room and heading out and towards their respective dorm rooms. Ochako grabbed Izuku's arm, keeping him in. "You're staying here, Izuku," Ochako said. "Huh? But after what Kajimoto told you and not to mention all that had happened today, I'm not taking chances," Ochako said sternly. Izuku knew there was nowhere out of this. "I guess since you won't take no for an answer, there's no way out of this," Izuku said. "Since I'm staying in here, I'll be right back and get extra blankets." "Izuku, you've slept with me before, even if last time wasn't intentional. So you're sleeping with me on my bed tonight," Ochako said. Izuku was surprised by Ochako's sternness. "Well, okay," Izuku said. Do you mind if I at least get some pajamas and shower in your bathroom?" Izuku asked. "I don't mind at all. When you get your pajamas, you're coming right back," Ochako said. "I will, I swear," Izuku said. Ochako was now scaring Izuku, which he thought made her more attractive for some reason. Izuku went towards his room to get his pajamas and headed back to Ochako's room. When he was heading back to his crush's room, he ran into his homeroom teacher. "Going somewhere, problem child?" Aizawa asked. Well, Izuku tried to say something but didn't know what to say. "Going back to Uraraka's room? Well, go on ahead. I overheard her and..." Aizawa looked around to see if anyone else was in earshot. "She scares the shit out of me," he whispered. "She was quite stern," Izuku said. "I heard. Just don't do anything you're not supposed to unless protected," Aizawa said. "You mean go and raid a villain base?" Izuku asked. "Well, don't do that either, but that's not what I meant, never mind. Get going and get some rest," Aizawa said, walking past Izuku. Izuku then walked back into Ochako's room. When he opened the door, she was in a towel, covering her torso and the top of her thighs. Izuku went red-faced and had blood going down his nose as his tail stiffened and puffed up due to his embarrassment as well as hers. Izuku closed the door as his face was red as a tomato and had steam coming out of his ears. "Izuku! You can come in. I was just getting clothes," Ochako said. Izuku opened the door slowly and closed it back, trying to not look at Ochako, and had his face red with embarrassment. I'll go to the bathroom and change and then you can take a shower, Ochako said as she went back into her bathroom to change. Later, both Izuku and Ochako showered, separately. When Izuku came out of the bathroom with his pajamas on, he saw that Ochako was already asleep. Izuku laid on the bed, trying not to wake Ochako up, and was on the edge of the bed, trying to give Ochako as much space as he could. He then drifted to sleep. Later that night, Izuku woke up hearing soft crying. He looked over at Ochako to see that she had her back towards him crying. Ochako? Izuku asked in a whisper but was definitely concerned. I'm sorry, Izuku, I couldn't save you, it's all my fault, and now you're dead, Ochako said. She seemed to be crying in her sleep. Ochako! Ochako! Wake up! It's not real! Izuku said, trying to wake Ochako up. Eventually, Ochako finally woke up and her face was tear-stained with red puffy eyes. Ochako, are you alright? Izuku asked in a concerned voice. Izuku! Ochako yelled as she hugged Izuku tightly. Izuku, I dreamt that the villain you fought had killed you and I didn't do anything to help, Ochako said in between sobs. Ochako. It was just a dream. It wasn't real. I'm still here, Izuku said as he hugged Ochako, attempting to comfort her. Are you gonna ask her out already? Goku asked Izuku through King Kai. Okay, if Goku is noticing the signs and you're not, we have a real problem, King Kai said. Yeah. No shit. Get your ass over here, you little shit, Katsuki shouted as he was trying to catch bubbles. Izuku heard the voices of King Kai, Goku and Katsuki. Izuku blushed at Goku's and King Kai's comments. Thank you, Ochako said. You're welcome, Izuku told her. Ochako was then asleep again as Izuku heard a light snore from her. Izuku smiled at this as he kissed Ochako's forehead, falling asleep as he cuddled her, wrapping his arms as well as his tail around her. Ochako had a smile on her face as she slept. Izuku thought she was the most adorable thing in the known universe. I love you, Ochako, Izuku said, thinking Ochako was fully asleep. I love you too, Izuku, Ochako said back, surprising Izuku. Wait, you're still awake? Izuku asked. Wait, that wasn't a dream? Ochako asked. The two then started to look each other in the eyes. Ochako's eyes were more tired than Izuku's due to her waking up again. Well, I guess there's no reason to hide it any longer. Yes, Ochako. I love you. For so long, I had feelings for you but couldn't get myself to tell you, thinking that you would hate me or if you actually hated me all this time, Izuku said. Izuku, why would you think I hate you? For so long, you've inspired me to be a hero even when I was quirkless. Before UA began, I had no friends and the kids picked on me for being quirkless. You were my only friend. I had feelings for you as well, but I didn't know how to tell you because I didn't think that someone as powerful and amazing as you would like some quirkless nobody like me, Ochako said. Izuku cupped Ochako's face and kissed her on the lips as he had a faint blush with Ochako looking like a tomato at that point. Ochako. You are not just some quirkless nobody, even with your given quirk. You are a strong woman and I knew you'd make an incredible hero, with or without a quirk, Izuku said as he patted Ochako on the head. Now let's go back to sleep. I agree, Ochako said as she yawned then drifted off to sleep. Izuku did the same thing. The two were sleeping in their cuddled position with no space in between them as they enjoyed each other's warmth. Chapter 8. Finding out who you are. The morning had come with Izuku waking up to a not-so-familiar bed with a not-so-familiar feeling. He felt like he was hugging something, or someone that was definitely not a pillow. He felt something tickle his nose. Izuku looked down to see Ochako laying her head on his chest as she cuddled him close. Izuku rubbed the top of her head as he cuddled her close. He also remembered that he and her also confessed to each other but doesn't know if that was a dream or not. He suddenly felt movement as Ochako was stirring awake. Ochako looked up to see Izuku's face and smiled. Morning, Oka, Izuku said as he patted her head. Morning, Izu, Ochako said in a groggily but sweet tone. She then grabbed the back of Izuku's head and kissed him deeply. I guess it really wasn't a dream, Izuku thought as he melted into Ochako's kiss. Ochako was then getting bold and stuck her tongue in Izuku's mouth, surprising Izuku as well as being beet red. He found this as an invitation to stick her tongue in her mouth, getting them in a tongue tangle. Finally! Izuku heard King Kai, Katsuki, Goku as well as the other gods of the multiverse as well as the Kai race, the angels and the Grand Priest all at the same time. The two pulled back with a string of saliva between their mouths as they were catching their breath. I wanted to do that for a while, Ochako said. She then smashed her lips back on Izuku's with her tongue inside his mouth and everything. A knock then came to the door. Hey Midoriya? It's Gohan. Are you still there? The two didn't hear Gohan as they kept making out. Another knock came. Midoriya, I know you had a rough day yesterday. Well, that's an understatement, but Sato made some breakfast for us, Gohan said. The two broke out of their kiss again. Did you hear something? Ochako asked. Well, now that you mention it, I feel high energy on the other side of the door, Izuku said. Ochako got off of Izuku as Izuku went towards the door and opened it. Oh, hey Gohan. How long were you there? Izuku asked. Not too long. Come on you two, Sato made breakfast for us, Gohan said. Okay. Coming, Ochako said. She went to grab Izuku's hand and went downstairs. Hang on, you two are dating? Gohan asked. Yeah, we confessed last night, Izuku said. Well, you two definitely make an adorable couple, Gohan said with a smile. The three made it down the common area where everyone, except for Teshi, were eating breakfast with each other. Hey guys, Izuku said, happier than normal. Hey Midoriya, Mina said as she noticed him and Ochako holding hands. She then started to squeal. Izuku happened! Eek! Oh my god! You two are such an adorable couple! An invisible girl shouted, fangirling with Mina. Congrats bro, Kirishima said. It's about time you two got together. Ribbit, Tsu said. I am also happy that you two got together. But make sure this doesn't get in the way of your training to become heroes, Ida said with his robotic hand chopping. We don't plan on it. We plan to help each other reach the goal, Izuku said. Yes, Ochako said. After eating breakfast, Izuku was about to go somewhere to train. However, Gohan grabbed him by the shoulder. Hang on Midoriya. Remember, Principal Nizu wants to see us, he said. Oh yeah. I forgot, Izuku said, scratching the back of his neck sheepishly. Hey Ochako. Gohan and I are gonna head over to Nizu's office to see what he needs. Okay Izuku. I'll be here, Ochako told him. The two half-Saiyans walked over to the school building, out of Heights Alliance. When the two had arrived, Izuku knocked on the door and got a "Come in" by the principal. Young Midoriya and young Gohan. It's good to see you. Please have a seat and have some tea with me, Nizu said. Thank you, Principal Nizu. What did you need? Izuku asked. Well, young Midoriya, this is about your lineage and your quirk, Nizu said. Izuku swallowed a lump in his throat and stiffened, worrying the worst. And don't worry, Midoriya. We are a place to train our students to be heroes no matter the lineage or quirk. Speaking of, Midoriya, would you explain your quirk to me? Nizu asked kindly. Well, my quirk allows me to control energy, and that energy seems to be getting stronger every time I train, not to mention my tail. My mom got me these weights on my 8th birthday. These weights get heavier the stronger I get, Izuku said. I know a few people who would kill to have those weights, Gohan said. Well, young Midoriya, you and Gohan are actually quite alike. You both possess the same type of quirk. I'm gonna drop a rather large bombshell on you, Midoriya, Nizu said. Gohan knew what he was about to say while Izuku was getting a little confused. Neither you or Gohan have a quirk. Now Izuku was really confused. Wait, I don't have a quirk? Are you sure about that? Izuku asked. I'm actually quite positive, Midoriya. Do you know about the Saiyan race? Niza asked. My question is, how do you? Gohan asked. Well, I have my ways and I'm quite good friends with the one who runs Capsule Corporation, Niza said. Wait. You mean Bulma? Gohan asked in surprise. Yes, young Gohan. Now, I asked her to bring her husband by to explain more of it. He'll be able to explain more than I can, Niza said as he pushed a button. Bring him in. Almost instantly, the door opened to reveal a rather short man with hair that defies gravity who also had a widow's peak. He was also wearing a suit. Gohan, I'm sure you already met him, but Midoriya, I'd like for you to meet Vegeta. Vegeta took a look at Izuku, who was looking up at him from his chair. So you're the son of that low-class warrior, Hisashi, Vegeta said. Vegeta, would it kill you to be nice for once? Gohan asked. His brat seems to be stronger than that idiot, I'll give him that, even if he doesn't know who he really is, Vegeta said. A Saiyan is a race of elite warriors. Our limits are broken each time we train and fight. We yearn to be better than who we are. Izuku Midoriya, you are half Saiyan. You are above the uselessness of a Quirk. If you want to prove your worth, then I suggest we have a sparring match one day. At that, Vegeta left the room and left the building. As you can see, he's quite blunt as well as stubborn. He may not like to talk about it, but there was a point in time when he was no better than your father, Midoriya. Worse even, Niza said. You can see that he's changed, Midoriya. He himself has a wife and family that he has grown to love. Well, at least he grew, Izuku said, with anger that was directed towards his father. But anyway, the power you both use is called Ki. Unless you don't know, Ki can also be taught to humans as well, Niza said. Wait, Saiyans aren't human? Izuku asked. No, young Midoriya, they are not. They're aliens who had their planet destroyed. The only Saiyans that I know of are Vegeta, Gohan and you Midoriya, Niza said. My father, Goku, died sacrificing himself against Cell, Gohan said. He himself was a full-blooded Saiyan. I don't know what to say about that, Izuku said. You don't have to say anything, Midoriya. My father died doing what he loved, Gohan said. I apologize for your loss, young Gohan. I thought it would be high time for you to know who you actually were, young Midoriya, so young Gohan here could help you get stronger, or rather, help each other, Niza said. Don't let it get you down, Niza. I'm proud to be my father's son, even if he wasn't always around, or made the best decisions, Gohan said. You got that right, King Kai said within both Gohan and Izuku's head. Another thing, I think Midoriya here will be helping me out more than me helping him out. He seems to be stronger than I am right now, Gohan said, smiling. Izuku smiled as he got up from his seat. Well, I think we should get going. Gohan and I will train together until the day of the sports festival comes, Izuku said. That would be best. Like I said, young Midoriya, Saiyans yearn to get stronger in any way possible and you are no different, Niza said. The two bowed in respect before walking out of the room. As they did, they were stopped by a skinny blonde. It was none other than Toshinori. Excuse me, you two. May I have a word with you for a second? I brought young Uraraka into my office, Toshinori said. Of course, Mr. Gohan said. Yagi. Young Gohan, young Midoriya, follow me to my office, I would like to explain some things, Toshinori said. The two half-Saiyans followed Toshinori to his office. Once they got there, Toshinori opened the door and led Izuku and Gohan into his office where they saw Ochako sitting on a couch which was in front of another couch. Have a seat, you two, Toshinori said. Izuku sat next to Ochako and Gohan sat on the other couch where Toshinori sat next to him. All right. So, young Gohan, can you keep a secret? Of course, Mr. Yagi, Gohan said. Thank you, Gohan. Now, where to begin? I've met your father, Goku, in my prime way before both of you were born, Toshinori said. Wait, really? Gohan asked, surprised. What was he like? Izuku asked. He was the strongest man I've ever met in my entire life, Almight said. The first time I met Goku, I was struggling against the villain who gave me this nasty scar. That villain is All For One. Wait, that villain? No offense, Yagi, but you look like you could collapse at any minute, Gohan said. Toshinori chuckled a little bit hearing this. Izuku and Ochako kept their lips sealed while Gohan had more questions than answers. Well, young Gohan, I guess there's no use keeping a secret from you. Your father knew about this, but please do me a favor and keep this a secret, Toshinori said. He then buffed himself up into All Might, surprising Gohan. I don't know what to say, your All Might, he asked. Yes, young Gohan. Anyway, the villain had me down and was going for the kill. But before he could, he was slugged in the face by an unknown force, Toshinori said, going back into his civilian form. And that unknown force was? Gohan asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, young Gohan, that force was none other than Goku. At first I thought his quirk was just a tail, but the way he fought that villain, he had no problem fighting off that menace. As a matter of fact, it was completely one-sided, Toshinori said. He even questioned if Goku was actually the holder of the quirk I had. What does All For One want with your quirk? Gohan asked. I see I'm getting ahead of myself. All For One is the villain who has been alive for 9 generations. He has the power to give and take quirks, Toshinori said. There was a time when he took over Japan. For generations, our quirk, young Uraraka, was meant to combat that quirk. Wait, you both have the same quirk? Gohan asked. Yes, young Gohan. Our quirk is named One For All. After I saw how Goku was able to beat the menace All For One not once, but twice. The second time, he beat All For One so terribly that he doesn't even have a face, Toshinori said. I found out recently that he's still alive. What? But how? Gohan asked. That's a good question, young Gohan. I don't know. But the reason I'm telling you this is because young Uraraka will have to fight this menace one day, Toshinori said. Well, I'll say this right now. She won't have to fight him alone. I'll stand by her as we fight this villain off, Izuku said with determination. And you can count on me as well, Gohan said as well. And I'll make sure to do my best to do what's right. With you, Izuku and Gohan and all my other friends at my side, there's no way that villain will stand a chance, Ochako said with determination as well. Toshinori smiled at this. He knew he chose right when he chose Izuku to be his successor, seeing how he wants to do anything he can to be a hero, but Ochako definitely had the determination to be his successor. Another thing I brought you in here. I would like to recommend the two of you to train young Uraraka with Ki to see if she can better her quirk with it. Mostly just Gohan. I'm not sure if young Midoriya knows how it really works, Toshinori said. I just train and meditate, and it just kind of happens, Izuku said. Maybe Uraraka could do the same. I could teach her how to do it. I've taught a girl named Videl how to control Ki, Gohan said. Really? That's awesome. I want to control Ki like you and Izuku do, Ochako said in excitement. Izuku started to have an uneasy feeling of jealousy. Well, my girlfriend Videl managed to learn Ki control pretty quickly, so I'm sure you'll have no problem with it. We'll all train together, Gohan said. Izuku's jealousy ceased at that. Alright, I'll help Ochako train once she has control over her Ki, Izuku said as he held Ochako's hand. I know of a place where we can train. This place can alter time by having one day be equivalent to a year. We'll be there for 2 weeks, so I'll have Den gather the Dragon Balls so we can all stay the same age that we are now, Gohan said. That would be best, Toshinori said. Goku always knew some strange people. Gohan may also know these people too, he thought. Well, we should get going, Gohan said. Midoriya, Uraraka, let's get going. The three left with Toshinori sipping his tea. All right. Before we head towards the hyperbolic time chamber, we'll make a few stops first, Gohan said. All right. Where are we going? Izuku asked. Well, first we'll head towards Capsule Corp, then we'll head to my house, Gohan said. Wait, Capsule Corp? Ochako asked in surprise. Isn't that place like heavily guarded? Yeah, but that Saiyan that Midoriya and I met in the principal's office is the husband of the woman who runs the place. Don't worry, she's nice, Gohan said. You probably wouldn't mind carrying Uraraka, right, Midoriya? Assuming she can't fly, that is. Nah, I don't mind carrying her at all, Izuku said. Ochako climbed onto Izuku's back as she wrapped her arms and legs tightly around Izuku. Don't worry, Ochako. We'll go nice and slow, Izuku said. Yeah, we have plenty of time to train, Gohan noted. At that, they flew to a dome-like house that had the words Capsule Corp written on it. Gohan used the key card he had and walked in. Hey, Bulma! I've got a couple of guests here, he shouted. Suddenly, a woman with sky-blue hair walked towards the three. Hey, Gohan! Who are these two? She asked. Hey, Bulma! This is Izuku and his girlfriend, Ochako, Gohan said. Izuku is a half-Saiyan like me. Really? Well, I'm assuming you brought Izuku here to train? Bulma asked. Well, actually, all three of us are gonna be going to the hyperbolic time chamber to train, Gohan said. Well, in that case, here. Take these, Bulma said as she gave Gohan a bag that had 6 balls with stars on them. I'm sure Dend will have the last one. Bulma! How did you get these? Gohan asked, surprised. I have my ways, Gohan. Anyway, I'm assuming you'll want to take 3 of Vegeta's spare Saiyan armor with you, Bulma said as she went into a cabinet. She then went back to the 3 with 3 of Vegeta's Saiyan armor for Gohan, Izuku and Ochako. Thanks, Bulma, Gohan said. You're very welcome, Gohan. Now you 3 be careful, Bulma said. At that, the 3 flew off with Ochako being picked up by Izuku, bridal style, as they flew off towards Gohan's home where he, his mom Chi-Chi, and his brother Goten live. Hey, Mom! I have guests over, Gohan yelled. Making friends already, Gohan? Who are they? Chi-Chi asked. I'm Izuku Midoriya. This is my girlfriend, Ochako Uraraka, Izuku said. Hello? Ochako said, bowing to Chi-Chi in respect. Oh my gosh! They're so cute, Chi-Chi said as she squished Izuku's cheeks together. You know, I've heard that you're a half-Saiyan like my 2 sons. I also heard you're the offspring of a nasty Saiyan that my husband had to fight so long ago. I know you're nothing like him though. You're too cute to be like that man. Chi-Chi continued squishing Izuku's face to the point Izuku couldn't open his eyes. Mom! Please stop, Gohan said as his face palmed. Ochako then snatched Izuku away from Chi-Chi as Ochako had her face pressed onto Izuku's with her holding him close while hugging his head. Oh, come on! I was just playing, Chi-Chi said. My Deku, Ochako said as she glared at Chi-Chi as she also pecked Izuku on the cheek. All right. Please. Let's not start any arguments, Gohan pleaded. We're not gonna start anything, Gohan. Anyway, since you're a Saiyan, Izuku, what was your life like? Chi-Chi asked. Oh, Kami! Don't ask him that, Ochako said as she covered Izuku's ears. Izuku, you do not have to answer that. It's fine. But I'd rather not relive that, Izuku said. Understandable. Gohan here has been homeschooled for most of his life. But anyway, is there anything else you need? Or did you just come here to visit? I made lunch over here, Chi-Chi said. The kitchen table was full of food. So full of food that there were stacks of it. Yeah, I'm pretty hungry, Gohan said. Same here. I didn't have breakfast, Izuku said. Oh shit, Chi-Chi thought. Izuku and Gohan then started chowing down with Goten joining later on. Ochako managed to get her a big bowl of ramen from the other side of the table before it got devoured. I guess your 2 sons are also bottomless pits? Ochako asked. Yep. If it wasn't for Goten winning in the world tournament, our food budget would be lower than low, Chi-Chi said, eating a bowl of ramen herself as the 2 watched the 3 half-Saiyans eat like they're in an eating competition. After a minute, the table was clear and all that was left was the dirty bowls on the table. Thanks a lot, Mom. Your cooking is always the best, Gohan said. You're quite welcome, Gohan. Now, since I know you, Izuku and his lover over there are going to the hyperbolic time chamber. All I can say is, be careful, Chi-Chi said as she pecked Gohan on the cheek. I will, Mom, Gohan said as he hugged his mother. Alright, let's go you two. Okay, Izuku and Ochako said in unison. Izuku then picked up Ochako bridal style again as he started floating as Gohan started flying off with Izuku going past him, while Ochako held onto him tightly. After a while, the three arrived at the entrance of the time chamber with Den waiting. Hey Gohan! It's been a while, Den said. Yeah, it has. How have you been since you became the new keeper of the Dragon Balls? Gohan asked. It's been alright. Someone has to do it. Anyway, who are these two? Den asked. I'm Izuku Midoriya and this is my girlfriend, Ochako Uraraka, Izuku said as he wrapped his arm around Ochako's waist. Oh, so you're the guy who was so dense at the fact that this girl likes you, Den said. Wait, how many of the gods knew? Izuku asked. Just about all of them, Den said. Well, we're together now. As a matter of fact, we got together last night, Izuku said. Hey, I'm surprised you two didn't go the full route, Den said, laughing a bit. Ochako blushed at that comment. What do you mean by that? Izuku asked, confused. You know what? Never mind, Den said. Anyway, Gohan, take these. He then tossed a satchel that looked to be a year's worth of senzu beans. You'll probably need these while you're in there, he said. Thanks, Den. How did you grow all of these? Gohan asked. Are you kidding? Do you know how long we've been growing these? Den asked. Right. By the way, where's Popo? Gohan asked. Who? Izuku asked. Hey. Izuku then looked behind him to see a void with a face, which scared the crap out of him. Back on Earth. The rest of Class 1A were shopping at the mall. They all heard a scream from the heavens. Did you hear that? Kirishima asked. I felt that, Kaminari said. With Katsuki, Goku and King Kai. Katsuki was laying on the ground, feeling exhausted from the training while still unable to catch Bubbles. Yeah. Bubbles is a quick one, isn't he? Goku said. Buck you asshole, Katsuki said in between breaths. The three then heard a scream from somewhere. Hey! Quit screaming out there! I'm trying to cook up a meal, King Kai said. Oh no you don't! Katsuki shouted, shooting up from the ground, marching towards the kitchen to cook for them instead. Goku was then left outside of King Kai's house, wondering where that screaming came from. At a planet deep into the galaxy, a man with sky blue skin and a swirl in his hair was making tea for himself. The scream caused the man to accidentally spill his tea on himself. Whis! Stop with all the screaming! I'm trying to sleep! A purple cat in Egyptian robe said. Lord Barris. You must understand that wasn't me, Whis said. Whatever! I'm going back to bed, Barris shouted as stormed off back to bed. Back with Izuku and his friends. Izuku slowly ceased his screaming as he looked at the void who just so happened to be a person altogether. Did I scare you? The void-looking man asked. Yeah, a little, Izuku said. A little? Both Ochako and Gohan asked in unison. Anyway, I'm Popo. Nice to meet you, the void-looking man named Popo said. I'm Izuku Midoriya, Izuku said. I see. You're the kind-hearted half-Saiyan who's one of the offsprings of the Saiyans who came to Earth. He's one of the two who died on Earth. The other one went by the name Raditz, Popo said. From what I understand, you're also a unique type of Saiyan that only comes every 1,000 years. There's another Saiyan out there who is the same type of Saiyan as you, With you being half Saiyan, you have as much if not more power than Gohan. So what does this unique Saiyan prowess come with? Izuku asked. Well, firstly, since you have those weights that get heavier as you get stronger, your power continues to grow rapidly. Now tell me, have you noticed how when you get angry, your body glows green and your eyes change from green to yellow? Popo asked. Izuku nodded. Well, that's a form that your type only has. This is called the Akari form. It's a form that is quite hard to control when tapped into. It's not impossible to control. If you are able to control that form, I believe you'll be able to control the form of the Ozuru, seeing that the Akari form gives you the power of the Ozuru form. Ozuru? Izuku asked. A form that lets you turn into a giant monkey that destroys anything in its path if not controlled. It only activates if you look up into the full moon, Popo explained. Well, does that mean my mom knows about me being a Saiyan? She never let me look outside once there was a full moon. She was very stern to make sure all my curtains were closed and such, Izuku mentioned. That might actually be because of Bulma telling her in a meeting. Your mother didn't want you to have such strict rules when a full moon is out, but Bulma reassured her that it was for the safety of the Earth, Popo said. Not to mention the fact that Vegeta was very against the idea of you joining us against Cell, Gohan said. But why's that? I would have joined you guys in a heartbeat, Izuku said. It's because he says, and I quote, we don't need another offspring of another low-class warrior to join us. I myself can handle him alone, Gohan said, trying to imitate Vegeta. In reality, he was scared that you might actually be leagues above him. He, as well as Goku, knew you would obliterate Cell without effort given how much you train, Popo noted. You know, now I'm kinda excited to see how strong you really are, Gohan said. Careful, Gohan. Your Goku is showing, King Kai said within Gohan's mind. By the way, are we gonna go into the hyperbolic time chamber or what? Ochako asked. Looks like someone is eager to train, Izuku said, smiling at Ochako. But yeah, we should head inside. At that, the three headed inside the time chamber. Be careful in there, Den said. The three entered the time chamber and Izuku and Ochako were amazed by this. All they saw was an endless white void that went on forever. After a little while when they entered, the gravity then shifted with Izuku and Gohan feeling just fine, but Ochako felt heavier. Ochako! Are you okay? Izuku asked, concerned. I'm fine, Izuku. This might take me a while to get used to, Ochako said, struggling to get herself back up. Yeah. You should put on the Saiyan armor. You'll be able to move at least so you can start training, Gohan said, giving Ochako the Saiyan armor. Ochako started changing into the Saiyan armor with the two boys not looking. Izuku went to look at Ochako without her noticing and he got beet red from the sight and immediately looked away. Thanks, Gohan. I can move much easier, Ochako said, done changing. That's good. We can get started now, Gohan said. Izuku was still looking away, shivering and sweating with his face still red. You okay, Izuku? Ochako asked. Huh? What? I didn't see anything. I swear! Izuku shouted, too fast for the two to know what he was saying. Okay. Let's get started, Gohan said. At that, they began training. Meanwhile, at Capsule Corporation, Bulma was working on a prototype. She was working on something that could possibly give a single Earthling the strength and power of both Goku and Vegeta combined. She managed to put that type of power into a single ring that could be worn on a finger. Bulma, are you sure this will be a good idea? If something like this falls into the wrong hands, who knows what will happen? A man in a lab coat asked. If there's another villain that's a Saiyan and could possibly have the same fighting potential as Gohan or maybe even Izuku, then we need multiple of these for if that villain attacks those children again, David, Bulma told him. I hope you know what you're doing. What if someone breaks in here and attempts to steal this ring? David asked. You worry too much, Dave. You forget this is the most protected corp in the world. Even if Frieza sets foot in here, he'll be turned into Swiss cheese, Bulma noted. If you say so, David said. The two walked out of the lab with Bulma turning on the security settings with the machine guns coming down from the ceiling. Little did they know, there was a hooded figure dressed in all black outside of Capsule Corporation. A man who seemingly has multiple quirks who can only be assumed as someone who works for the League of Villains. The man then warped himself into the lab and avoided any traps. He had a quirk to teleport, a quirk to see where cameras were pointing, a quirk to phase through objects, and a quirk to make himself unrecognizable if ever caught. He used all those quirks to dodge every mechanism there was in Capsule Corp to get to where he was after. He saw a ring on display as well as blueprints for said ring. Apparently it can drastically improve the strength of one person as well as their quirk, if they have one, as well as canceling any drawback someone might have with said quirk. The man then had his hand phase through the glass container that held the ring, grabbed it, and took his hand out. It wasn't long till the alarm went off with the machine guns now pointing at him. Before the guns could shoot him, the man immediately vanished out of the facility with the ring in hand. Bulma and David immediately barged in and the alarms started to cease along with the machine guns. "What the hell happened?" Bulma asked. The two looked around to find anything suspicious. They couldn't find anything unusual until... Bulma?" David asked. "What is it, David?" Bulma asked. "That ring we were working on, it's gone," David said, scared. "Are you shitting me?" Bulma asked, enraged. Bulma then ran towards the container that the ring was in but saw it wasn't there. Bulma was livid at that point. "When I catch that thief, I'm gonna grind him up into ramen," she said, enraged. Back with the thief. He went towards the back of the dorms of 1A with a certain nuclear boy waiting for said thief. "You got what I asked for?" Teshi asked. "Damn right. You promise you'll keep your end of the bargain?" the man asked. "As long as this thing does what you say it does, you can bet your ass. I'll slaughter that damn villain's offspring and take that girl of his as my hitch," Teshi said as he put the ring on, feeling a surge of power going through his body as his nuclear aura shot up into the sky as he laughed maniacally. Chapter 9. Training continues. Gohan gave instructions to Ochako on how to unlock her key. She started getting into a meditation pose as she put her hands together, as if she was holding a small bowl. Izuku was watching as she did this and felt her energy rising. Izuku was grinning ear to ear as he noticed a small yellow light come from Ochako's hands with her still meditating. "Ochako, open your eyes," Izuku said calmly. Ochako opened her eyes as she saw the yellow light in her hands. She looked at it amazed by the ball of light. "I did it! Izuku! I did it! I did it!" Ochako said, excited. The ball of light then disappeared and Ochako then started to stumble with Izuku catching her. Izuku was concerned about her, feeling her energy drop. "Ochako! Are you alright?" Izuku asked in concern. "She'll be fine, Midoriya. This is a normal thing that happens when someone unlocks their key for the first time. She'll have better control over it over time," Gohan said, reassuring Izuku. Izuku took a deep breath to calm himself down. "I guess I'd better get her to bed so she can rest," Izuku said as he laid Ochako on her bed. Izuku was looking at Ochako as she was sleeping. He then kissed the top of her forehead as he rubbed the top of her head. He swore he saw a smile on her. Gohan thought the sight of the two was adorable. "Hey, Midoriya! Why don't we spar until she wakes up?" Gohan said in a whisper tone. "Okay, but let's do it at a distance from here so we don't wake her up," Izuku said. "Good idea," Gohan said. Izuku and Gohan went further into the abyss, which is the chamber. When they were far enough away, the two then got into a fighting stance. Gohan was the first to attack as he jumped towards Izuku at blinding speeds as he landed a thunderous punch square onto Izuku's face. Gohan saw that the punch, despite it hitting Izuku square in the face, did absolutely nothing to him. Gohan then threw a barrage of kicks and punches towards Izuku with them all doing little to nothing. At this point, it seemed like Gohan wasn't even tickling him. Gohan jumped back and ascended to Super Saiyan as he went for another punch towards Izuku. This time, Izuku caught Gohan's punch and threw him no problem. Gohan then jumped towards Izuku again, but this time disappeared and reappeared behind Izuku as he was going for a kick, which was caught and got thrown onto the ground, over Izuku's shoulders, which made Gohan bounce. Gohan jumped back onto his feet and ascended to Super Saiyan 2 as he was screaming on the top of his lungs, powering himself up more. He then put his hands together and pulled his hands back. Me. Gohan was now charging up a ball of light that seemed to be getting bigger and bigger. Izuku could feel Gohan's power level rising, which intrigued him. Hiya! Gohan then shot a giant beam of light towards Izuku. The beam towered over Izuku as it was getting closer and closer. Izuku smirked as the beam was now getting closer. He drew his hand back as he was getting ready for his own super move. Summer's heat! Izuku shouted as he shot an orange and green beam that easily overpowered Gohan's Kamehameha wave. Gohan felt that beam cutting through his blast like a hot knife through butter, so he did the wise thing to do. He ceased his blast and dodged the blast before it hit him. With Izuku still in his base form, Gohan saw that he needed to catch up. Of course, how can you catch up against someone who literally learns as he fights? Gohan once again shot himself towards Izuku at blinding speeds as he threw a barrage of kicks and punches which still didn't do a damn thing to Izuku. With every thunderous punch and kick that Izuku received by Gohan was like a bite of a flea to him. Like the one-punch man that Izuku was, he grabbed Gohan's fist and slugged him right in the stomach as he flew far away to the point he was unseeable. It was obvious that Gohan was knocked out cold from that punch, or else he would have flown towards Izuku by now. Izuku flew towards Gohan as he picked him up and brought him towards a spare bed within the time chamber, as he laid him down for him to rest as he decided to train for a bit. I guess I could try to control my Ikari form. Let's see here, how did Gohan transform at will? Did he manage to control his anger when meditating on what made him transform in the first place and stayed calm and was now able to control that form at will? Izuku was now deep in thought as he went into a muttering spree on how Gohan managed to control his Super Saiyan form so well. He didn't notice that Ochako was now awake. Hey, Deku! Ochako shouted as she got Izuku out of his muttering trance. Oh! Hey, Ochako! How long was I muttering for? Izuku asked. I don't know. I just woke up. But anyway, I did hear you saying something about trying to control your Ikari form and Super Saiyan form. So try meditating on that and see what happens. I'll be here just in case, Ochako said. Okay, Ochako, I just hope I don't end up losing control, Izuku said. I'll make sure that doesn't happen, Izuku, Ochako told him, giving him a peck on the cheek, which made him blush. Izuku then got in a meditating pose as he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Ochako was watching him closely as she sat in front of Izuku. Izuku then remembered all the torment that Teshi caused him. He remembered how he would beat him daily with his fists and his quirk, making sure whoever would try to be friends with him would be a target to him. He then remembered the time when he was told to kill himself by said tormentor. That was his first time unlocking his Ikari form to rage. He then remembered the principal saying that he would have him expelled and his beloved mother arrested. While Izuku was meditating, Ochako saw Izuku glowing green while his glowing yellow eyes could be seen through his eyelids. She felt the pressure of Izuku's power. Even knowing that Izuku would never hurt her, it still scared her to the point that she was shivering at the pressure of Izuku's raw power. She saw that Izuku's forehead started to show a blood vessel indicating that he was fighting for control. Izuku then took a deep breath and the vessel was now gone, and his face softened with him still being in his Ikari form at full power. Izuku, open your eyes, Ochako said in a calm voice. Izuku opened his eyes slowly. His ferocious yellow eyes looked into Ochako's brown eyes. Izuku then looked at his own hands to see he was still glowing green even with him being calm. Did I do it? Asked Izuku. Yes, Izuku. You did, Ochako said happily. Izuku stood up with his Ikari form still active. He thought he would give it a shot. He saw that he was much faster, strong to the point where he could accidentally make a black hole with a single punch, and of course, make bigger ki blasts. Izuku continued to train with his Ikari form until he got a better hold on it. Gohan was still asleep as Izuku was training his ass off as usual. Ochako was watching in amazement at how hard he was working as usual. He then attempted to switch his Ikari form on and off on command, which he succeeded in. Izuku then had an idea for Ochako. "Hey, Ochako!" he said. "Yeah, Izuku?" Ochako asked. "Let's train your ki more, and once you get enough control, you could mix your ki with one for all and possibly have more control," Izuku said. "That sounds like a great idea, Izuku. Let's go for it," Ochako said. Izuku and Ochako then got in a fighting position with Izuku ready for her to jump in and attack. "Alright. Try attacking me with just your ki activated," Izuku told her. "Okay," Ochako said. She activated her ki around her as she went for a punch against Izuku. She didn't feel much stronger though. "Izuku, I don't feel any stronger than what I use for one for all," she said, disappointed. "That's because you just need to train with your ki more. That way it'll be stronger the more you train with it," Izuku explained. "I guess that makes sense," Ochako said, sweat dropping for not thinking about that earlier. After that, Ochako was training to get better with her ki. She learned telekinesis, which she has been using a lot. She taught herself how to use a gravity bomb with her ki, of which she has been using a lot as well, which was her favorite attack thus far. Gohan had finally woke up with Izuku and him sparring once again, as Gohan was trying his damnedest to catch up with Izuku while Ochako was training by herself. Needless to say, Ochako was getting much better with her ki. When she felt like she had enough ki control, she went into a meditating pose with her attempting to mix one for all with her ki. While this happened, she felt herself in a void. She opened her eyes and was about to speak but couldn't. She saw 8 other people, with one of them being unrecognizable. She did, however, notice one man having his face covered by a man in a suit. The same man then reached his hand out towards Ochako. "So you're the 9th," the man said. Ochako's eyes shot open as a shockwave occurred throughout the time chamber that got the 2 half-Saiyan's attention. Ochako looked at herself as pink lightning danced around her, with her eyes being a faint pink. "Ochako! Are you alright?" Izuku asked, concerned as usual. "I feel much stronger," Ochako noted. Did you mix your ki with one for all?" Izuku asked. "Yes, Izuku. Yes, I did," Ochako said as she activated full calling no problem. She definitely looked much more powerful than before. She not only had pink lightning dancing around her, but she also had a pink glow around her under all the lightning as well. "Alright. Let's continue on with the training," Gohan said. Meanwhile, at a gym back in Japan, Mina and Kirishima were training for the sports festival. They were training on their speed and strength, as well as durability. Ida, Tsu and Tokoyami had joined them shortly after to better themselves and their quirks. Ida was testing his limits on his speed, Tsu was trying out new frog-like abilities, and Tokoyami fused himself with Dark Shadow, taking advice from Izuku before the USJ. Flashback. Tokoyami approached Izuku as he was working out in the school gym. "Midoriya," Tokoyami said. Izuku asked as he stopped his push-ups. "I was wondering if you have any way I can better my quirk, or even myself," Tokoyami said. "Of course," Izuku said, getting a notebook out. "Since Dark Shadow is always floating, not to mention very spirit-like, you could try to fuse with Dark Shadow and he'll dash." Dark Shadow corrected Izuku. "Huh?" Izuku asked. "Dark Shadow is a girl. Long story," Tokoyami said. "Right. Anyway, Dark Shadow can help you fly since she's always floating," Izuku said. "That's actually really helpful," Dark Shadow said. "I have to agree. I thank you, Midoriya," Tokoyami said, bowing to Izuku. "I'm glad to help a friend," Izuku said. Back to the present. As Tokoyami fused with Dark Shadow, he then started to take flight. The other 4 watched Tokoyami in amazement. "Looks like you learned a new move. That's so manly," Kirishima said proudly. "Yeah. You'll be even stronger than before, I just know it," Mina said. Tokoyami smiled at all the enthusiasm he was getting from his friends. You really are amazing, Tokoyami, Su told him. Thanks, guys. Really, Tokoyami said as Dark Shadow wiped her happy tears away with a handkerchief. The five continued training their quirks as well as themselves in general. At an unknown location, Mikumo and Dabi were sparring with each other. Dabi got a good hand at his ki, which was black as coal. He mixed his ki with his blue flames and made his fire much more powerful and controllable. He didn't end up burning himself every time he used his fire thanks to his ki and was getting good at martial arts thanks to Mikumo. Well, you're definitely stronger than your traitorous father. Now all we need to do is get you a damn senzu bean, Mikumo said. What the hell will a damn bean do for me anyway? Dabi asked. It'll help you not look like a burnt onion, that's what, Mikumo said. Senzu beans have the ability to heal any type of wound. Well, in that case, you should get one for Toga as well since you did another round with her right after she was able to walk again, Dabi said. Hey! It's not my fault she tempted me, Mikumo said. I'm just saying, boss. She won't be able to do any villain work if you keep bucking her like that, Dabi noted. Yeah, I get it, Mikumo said. Like, holy shit. From what it sounded like, you literally bucked her all weekend, Dabi said. Alright. Let's get back to training. Jeez, Mikumo said, annoyed. Like how you gave Toga hip and jaw training? Dabi asked in a snarky tone. God damn it to ya! Mikumo shouted, as he shot a barrage of ki blasts towards Dabi, who was just laughing. Chapter 10. Start of the Sports Festival. Izuku, Ochako and Gohan had been pushing themselves, being more than ready for the sports festival that was coming. The three were now older than they were before they entered the time chamber. Ochako had quite a bit of muscle with her hair much longer than it was before, not to mention being able to control 500% of One for All. Gohan had managed to finally catch up with Izuku, so now the two were rivals, but Izuku always happened to be one step ahead, and Izuku not only mastered his Ikari form, he also mastered his Super Saiyan form. Both Izuku and Ochako had also learned the Kamehameha wave by Gohan as well, with Izuku learning it right off the bat and Ochako having complications but managing it anyway. The three felt as if they stayed in the chamber for long enough, so they all walked out, satisfied with their progress. As they walked out, the three noticed Den and Popo were playing Go Fish. Den looked at the three and his eyes had widened. Has it been 2 weeks already? You three must be in your 30s right now. Midoriya and Gohan, you two look like a couple of badasses. Uraraka, I'd be careful with perverts, especially a certain turtle hermit we know, not to mention the fact Midoriya can't keep his eyes off of you and vice versa. Not to mention, you also look like a total badass, Den said. But I think you three should go back to your original age before people think you're full-fledged pro-heroes. Good thing we have the Dragon Balls right here. Den then took the Dragon Balls out of the sack they were in and organized them. After he organized them, the Dragon Balls started to glow as the Dragon Shinran appeared. I am the great Dragon Shinran. I can grant one wish. What shall be your wish? Shinran asked. Shinran! I wish for these three Izuku Midoriya, Ochako Uraraka and Son Gohan to be back at their original ages before they had entered the hyperbolic time chamber, with them keeping their progress, Den said. A simple wish. Izuku Midoriya, Ochako Uraraka and oh hey Gohan. How's it going? Shinran asked. Not much. Just trying to catch up so I can be a hero. Midoriya over here is still one step ahead of me though. His girlfriend, Uraraka, probably broke the record for strongest earthling by a long shot, Gohan said. Ah yes. The 9th holder of the quirk, One for All. Nice to meet you. By the way, I'm so glad you and the legendary Half Saiyan got together, Shinran said. Has every godly being gossiped about us? Ochako asked. One of the gods summoned me to wish for Izuku to stop being so dense, but it was far beyond my power, Shinran said. Oh good grief, Gohan said as he slapped himself on the front of the face. Anyway, you three will go back to being 16 years old while keeping all the progress you earned while in the time chamber. And sorry about the teasing, Shinran said as his eyes started glowing with the three going back to their teens. Shinran then disappeared as the Dragon Balls scattered. By the way, Gohan, how many senzu beans do you have? Den asked. About 100, Gohan said, looking in his satchel. Well, that's good. You three be careful, Den said. Hey Ochako, are you able to fly correctly? Izuku asked. Let's see, Ochako said as she lifted her feet off the ground as she moved around, indicating that she knows how to fly. Yep. Looks like I can fly. Awesome. Anyway, we better get back to the dorms, Izuku said. Right. See you two later, Gohan said to Den and Popo as the three flew off. Izuku was easily the fastest, so he took Ochako by the hand and darted off as if he was challenging Gohan to a race. It was a day before the sports festival for the class of 1A. When the three arrived at the dorms, everyone who was there looked at the three who looked much different from before. Izuku and Gohan changed a little bit, but Ochako changed a lot. Her muscles could be compared to Mirko's, her chest and thighs looked bigger than before, and all in all, she looked like she could break Almight in his prime like a twig. Jesus H. Christ, Ochako! Mina said. How did you get so muscular in only 2 weeks? If I told you, you wouldn't believe me, Ochako told her. Midoriya and Gohan look manlier than they did before, but you Uraraka look like you could lift Mount Olympus for your workout, Kirishima said. You could probably make both Mirko and MT Lady jealous, Jiro noted. I know I am, she whispered. Well, thank you for all the compliments, but Izuku and I need to get busy on something, Ochako said as she took Izuku's hand. Wait, what are we working on? Izuku asked, confused. Let's just say, you're not gonna be as innocent after this, Ochako said with a smirk. The two left everyone in the common area alone as they already know what's gonna happen. Either Uraraka is gonna break his hips, or Midoriya is gonna downright dominate her, Mina said. I would stop them, but you know what, I just hope he wears protection, Ida said. Agreed, they all said. The next morning, Izuku woke up with Ochako next to him in his bed as she had a happy expression with the drool crawling out of her mouth. Izuku then patted her on the head and kissed her on the forehead. How does it feel to be a man, Deku? Katsuki asked, using King Kai as a spiritual cell phone. Good thing she got stronger with One for All, or else she wouldn't have survived that, King Kai said. That was probably the best night of my life, Izuku said. Congratulations. You got laid before I did. When I come back to life, I should have a night with Kami. Shit! Hey King Kai! Have me talk with Kami! Katsuki shouted. Alright. Geez! I guess I'm a freaking telephone now, King Kai shouted back as their voices disappeared. Well, I definitely hope Kami is doing okay, Izuku said. Meanwhile, at Shiketsu High, the students at Shiketsu were moved into dorms after the news about the villain attack at UA has spread. Kami was scolded about her breaking the rule that the students aren't allowed to date. She said okay and was on her way. Of course, Katsuki and Kami were dating before they went to high school, so it's not like they were just gonna break up. Kami was good at hiding her true feelings from everyone given her quirk. She looked happy but was mentally broken. Without her using her quirk, she had a tear-stained face from all the crying, deep bags under her eyes and cuts on her arms. She was in her room hugging her legs as she bawled her eyes out. Katsuki's death hit her harder than most realize. Kami! Kami! Can you hear me? Said a voice. Huh? Who's there? Where are you? Kami asked. Kami. It's me, Katsuki. I'm talking to you through King Kai, Katsuki said. Is this some sort of prank? I'm not falling for it, Kami said as she ran towards her door and opened it while looking left and right, not seeing anyone. No, Kami. It's not a prank, said Bakugo's voice from behind Kami. Kami spun around, seeing Katsuki completely solid. She also noticed a man in a GI, behind Katsuki as well. I'll give you 2 privacy. Probably give you about 5 minutes before heading back, Goku said. Thanks, Goku, Katsuki told him as he used instant transmission to go back to King Kai's world. K Katsuki? Cammy asked as she slowly walked towards Katsuki and put a hand on his face to make sure he was solid, which he was. Katsuki then hugged her close as she let the dam break on his chest as she let all her emotions out. She was both sad and happy at the same time. She was sad that she would only get to see Katsuki for only 5 minutes, but happy that she got to see him at all. I'm sorry, Katsuki said. Don't blame yourself, Katsuki. It's not your fault, Cammy told him. Katsuki brought Cammy to her bed as they cuddled each other. Cammy missed his touch. She longed for it. By the way, Cammy, I'll be brought back to life after I get done with my training with King Kai. I won't be long, I swear, Katsuki said. If that's true, then you better not be long. Do you know how much I missed you? Cammy asked. I couldn't sleep, I could barely eat, hell. I literally had to use my quirk to hide my tear-stained face. I know. I'm sorry. Just please take more care of yourself. You're training to be a hero like I am, of course. I'm gonna miss the Bucking Sports Festival sadly. But right now, I'd probably get my ass handed to me by Izuku's girlfriend, even if I am a Saiyan, according to King Kai and Goku, Katsuki said. Honestly, I just want you back alive. Another thing, that halo doesn't suit you, Cammy said, giggling a little bit. Yeah, why? Katsuki said. Cammy then started laughing harder. Katsuki's face went from offended to a smile, seeing Cammy laugh. Katsuki then hugged her tightly, laying his head on the crook of her neck. You better take better care of yourself when I'm gone, Katsuki said. I will, Katsubi, Cammy said as she held the back of his head. Goku then appeared back in Cammy's dorm room. Alright, Katsuki. Time to go back, he said. 5 more minutes, shitty-haired dunce face, Katsuki said. Come on, Katsuki. It's not like you're gone forever. You'll be resurrected, Goku told him. Ugh. Fine, Katsuki said. He hugged Cammy and kissed her as he sat up with her. I'll see you when I get resurrected. Take care when I'm gone. You better be back soon, Cammy told him as she hugged him tightly with tears threatening her eyes. I will. I love you, Katsuki said. I love you too, Katsuki, Cammy said. Katsuki let go of Cammy and went up to Goku as he vanished with him. After that, Cammy was alone again, but she promised that she would take better care of herself until Katsuki came back. Back with Class 1A at the start of the sports festival. All of Class 1A were hanging out in the stadium, waiting for the big day. They then met with a student of 1B who had decided to approach their class. So, you're the scummy Class 1A that I've heard so much about. I heard you guys had an offspring of a villain. I guess that makes us the clear superior class, said the arrogant blonde. Kirishima then stood up and walked up to the boy with an angry face. You listen here, mophead. That offspring of a villain is probably the most heroic motherbucker in this school. He never asked to be the son of a villain, so whoever you heard that from, you and whoever told you better shut up or I'll make you shut up, Kirishima told him. And how do you plan to do that? Be the minion of that villain by knocking me out and then taking me to his lair to torture me? You'll be no better than that 6-. The boy was then silenced by a giant hand karate chopping the back of his head, knocking him out. Ugh. You're such a dumbass, Monoma. Sorry about that, guys. Not everyone in our class is like this, just so you know. I'm Atsuka Kendo, by the way, the girl named Kendo said as he dragged Monoma away. She seems nice, but geez, what an ego on that blonde kid, Izuku said, rolling his eyes. Right? He's probably all talk with no action, Ochako said. The whole class laughed at this as they continued eating. However, when they were eating, a certain bi-colored hair teen walked up to Izuku as he was eating. Midoriya, once you're done eating, I need to have a word with you, said Todoroki. What is it, Todoroki? Asked Izuku, confused. We need to have a chat about your quirk. Bring Uraraka with you, Todoroki said as he went to sit by himself but was accompanied by Momo. Izuku and Ochako looked at each other, confused at this. After they were done eating, both Izuku and Ochako followed Todoroki through a tunnel until they were out of earshot. First off, Midoriya, explain what your quirk is to me, Todoroki said in his cold tone. Well, my quirk allows me to get stronger every time I train or fight. Aizawa told me it was a rare Shaolin quirk, Izuku said. Drop the act, Midoriya. I know what you are, Todoroki said bluntly. What? Izuku asked. In a way, we're the same. While your father was a villain of which I suppose you despise, my father just so happens to be the number 2 hero endeavor. Todoroki said the last word with clenched teeth. He hated the fact that he was in the shadows of an earthling. What do you mean? Wait, is Endeavor a Saiyan? Yes. Of course, he's the first full-blooded Saiyan to ever be born with a quirk. Saiyans aren't supposed to have quirks, and for good reason, Todoroki said. But wouldn't that quirk be stronger since he is a Saiyan? Izuku asked. Actually, it's no better than what a human would be with a quirk. So, my father being desperate, he forced my mother, who has an ice quirk, into a quirk marriage so he could try and make the perfect hero to surpass Almight. He failed 3 different times until he had me. So he trained me as soon as I was 4, not even having my quirk show yet. Not even training. He set me on fire a few times, so I had to put myself out with my ice quirk. My father didn't approve of the fact that I didn't use fire to fight back. He even abused my mother every time she interfered. Finally, my mother snapped and mistook my left side for my father, and now I have the scar you see now, Todoroki said. Todoroki, I'm sorry you had to go through the dash. Save it, Midoriya. You're easily the strongest one here, so I'll make sure to win using only my ice, Todoroki told him. Wait, you expect to beat Izuku with only half your power? Ochako said, raising an eyebrow. Of course. Think of it as a clash between Saiyans, Todoroki told Ochako. Oh, bullshit. Saiyans fight other Saiyans at full power no matter the disadvantage. So you're gonna handicap yourself because of some sob story? I'm not gonna lie, I do feel bad for you, but doing that is total bullshit. Not only are you disrespecting yourself but also your opponent for only half-assing it, Ochako said, quite pissed. Whatever, Todoroki said as he started to walk off. By the way, Uraraka, your quirk is similar to All Might's. And it's obvious that you trained with Ki. Are you All Might's secret love daughter or something? He asked. No. I'm not, Ochako told him. At that, Todoroki walked off. Izuku then hugged Ochako from behind in an attempt to calm her down. You okay, Oka? Izuku asked. Yeah, I'm fine. I was just pissed for a minute, Ochako said. We should probably head back too, Izuku told her, of which she nodded. A few hours later, the sports festival was about to start. In the stadium, Vegeta, Bulma, Krillin, Yamcha, Chi-Chi, Goten, Trunks, Rashi and Oolong were sitting and waiting for the event to happen. Wait, where's Piccolo and Videl? I don't think they'd want to miss out on this, Krillin asked. I'm here, shouted Videl as she came flying down. Sorry, I was talking with Gohan. Piccolo should be here any minute now. At that, Piccolo walked in wearing a yellow shirt, blue jeans and a baseball cap to hide his antennas. I look humiliating, he said. Oh, come on, Piccolo. You don't look that bad. You look like a normal human, Bulma said. Who's green, apparently, Piccolo said. Well, I mean, one of Gohan's classmates is literally pink with jagged yellow horns, Chi-Chi said. I'm only here to see if Gohan and his other half-Saiyan friend are actually worthy of calling themselves Saiyans, Vegeta said. Oh, deflate your ego, Vegeta, Bulma said, slapping Vegeta in the head. All right. Welcome, listeners, to this year's UA Sports Festival, President Mike shouted in his mic with the crowd cheering. All contestants, please make your way in. All of Class 1A and 1B as well as some students in the support course came walking in, with students from the general course also walking in. A certain nuclear bomb then walked up to Izuku with an arrogant smirk. "Oh Buck," Izuku said. "You ready to lose, Deku?" Teshi asked. "Not likely. You'll just have to face the fact that I'm leagues above you at this point," Izuku said boredly. "Is that a challenge I hear? Well, how about this? Before I kill you, I'll humiliate you and tell everyone who your father is and take that round-faced chick as my hitch," Teshi told him, glaring at him. "I thought heroes aren't supposed to kill," Izuku said. "Not like you can kill me anyway. You're nothing more than a coward and a weakling." "Oh, I'm so gonna have fun putting you in your place," Teshi said as he walked off. "All right," shouted Midnight in her questionable hero costume. Back in the stands, both Rashi and Oolong were grinning while drooling as well as having bloody noses at the sight of Midnight. Chi-Chi and Bulma had to cover Goten and Trunks' eyes. "Before we start the first event, a word from our class representative, Izuku Midoriya." Izuku froze hearing this, knowing he's not good with large crowds. His friends then went to support him real quick. "You can do it, Izuku," Ochako told him. "You got this, man," Kirishima said, patting Izuku on the back. "Thanks, guys," Izuku said, smiling at them. He then walked up to the stage, getting nervous with every step. He got closer to the mic as he could hear his heart within his own ear. When he got up to the mic, he could feel himself tense up as he was sweating very nervously with all the eyes on him. He took a deep breath before speaking. "I have a friend who wanted to be a hero. A friend who just so happened to be quirkless but still wanted to be a hero. She worked harder than anyone I ever knew. She's the strongest girl I've ever met. Now she's here in UA with a quirk that came in late. That friend of mine is named Ochako Uraraka. Even without a quirk, she worked harder than anyone I ever knew. For those who plan on being a hero without a quirk, take this as inspiration. Because my friend proved all who doubted her wrong. Anyone can be a hero as long as they try and do their best." At that, the crowd was silent until someone stood and started clapping, and everyone else, one by one, started applauding Izuku's speech. Izuku got off the arena and was met with Ochako hugging him tightly as she kissed his cheek. Ida had a handkerchief as he wiped his tears away, and Kirishima was hugging his metal twin as they both cried. "So manly!" they both yelled. In the stadium. "That was a pretty good speech there," Oolong noted. "He certainly reminds me of Goku," Rashi said. The group then heard sniffles from someone. It was Piccolo. "Piccolo, are you crying?" Yamcha asked. "What? No, I'm not crying." Sniff. "It was just an inspirational speech, that's all," Piccolo told them, trying to fight back tears. Vegeta himself had a proud smirk on his face, with Bulma noticing. "Vegeta, you're smiling," Bulma told him. His face then went back to a scowl. "Shut up," Vegeta said. "First event will be obstacle race," Midnight shouted. Later on, the obstacle race was set up and all the contestants were getting themselves ready. Izuku, Gohan and Ochako powered up, getting ready for the race to start. Teshi looked arrogant, thinking he was gonna win. "Go!" Midnight shouted. At that, Izuku, Ochako and Gohan bolted past all the contestants, leaving them all in the dust, even Ida, whose quirk is all about speed. Teshi was behind Ida while Todoroki tried to freeze them all. Izuku was in the lead with Gohan in second while Ochako was in third, going 500% of one for all, trying to catch up to them. Those three had already crossed the finish line, surprising all the contestants, teachers as well as a lot of pro heroes. Izuku Midoriya has finished in first place with Son Gohan in second and Ochako Uraraka in third, Midnight shouted. Teshi was pissed hearing this. He was behind not only Ida but Yayorozu and Todoroki as well. He wishes he had worn his ring at that point. He made it through the robots, the giant gap, the minefield rather easily but still got 6th place. He wasn't happy about that. He wanted to be the best of the best, and it seemed like he was in the shadows of someone he wanted everyone to believe was nothing more than a villain. The next event was about to start with all who placed for the next event eagerly waiting. The next event was a cavalry battle. Midnight had noted that the points added up by the hundreds until first place came in. And in first place we'll have 10 billion points! Midnight shouted. At that, everyone started to glare at Izuku. Everyone except for his friends. Although, Izuku still wanted to crawl in a hole and hide but tried to have a calm expression. At that, they all scattered to search for their teammates. Ochako immediately knew who she wanted on her team. Hey Izuku! Wanna team up? Ochako asked. Wait, what? Wouldn't you want it to be fair for other people? Izuku asked. Well, Gohan already teamed up with Mina, Kirishima, and Kaminari. Ida teamed up with Yayorozu, Todoroki, and Zero. So I say it's already fair, Ochako said. Besides, it's always best to team up with the people you like the most. Izuku's heart squeezed at her words and her smile. You okay, Izuku? Ochako asked. Why, yeah. I just probably need a pair of sunglasses, Izuku said. Hey you! Boy with a tail, said a voice. Both Izuku and Ochako looked at a girl that had pink noodly hair. Team up with me! Said girl got up close and personal towards Izuku. Ochako did not approve of this. I'm Mei Hatsum. I want you to have my babies, the girl named Mei said. Wait, what? Shouted both Izuku and Ochako, shocked. Yeah! I made these babies back in the support course and thought it would be great if I could show these here in the sports festival to advertise them, Mei said. Izuku and Ochako sweat dropped at this. Well, you know both me and Ochako can fly, right? Izuku asked. Oh, so is that a no? Mei asked. Well, you're in, but it's not like we'll need your inventions, Izuku said. Great! I'll put these babies to use then, Mei said. Midoriya, said a deep voice. They turned around to see Tokoemi. Let's team up. Izuku smiled at him. Absolutely, he said. At that, they had a full team. A boy who had wild purple hair and bags under his eyes had managed to use his quirk to have Teshi, Ojiro, and Kendo on his team. Back at the stadium, Rashi was examining said purple-haired boy and his quirk. You alright there, old man? Oolong asked. That young man. His quirk allows him to brainwash people, Rashi said. Don't you have a technique with a similar ability? Bulma asked. Yes. But my hypnosis ability doesn't work on those who are unintelligent. However, notice how he has that one boy who is under his control, Rashi said. What about him? Krillin asked. He's a freaking idiot. He seems to think he's top dog after losing in 6th place. So his quirk is actually more powerful than Rashi's mind-controlling technique in a way. The only backlash he has is the fact he has to have someone talk to him for him to activate it, Vegeta said. That's exactly right, Vegeta, Rashi said. How did you become so smart about quirks? Bulma asked. Us key users can not only sense people's energy but can also sense what kind of quirks they have, Videl said. What she said? Vegeta said. Back in the arena. Start! Midnight shouted. Everyone had immediately started running towards Izuku for his 10 billion. Izuku dodged everyone quite easily as Gohan was collecting his own points. He had enough to qualify but just wanted to make sure while giving everyone else a chance as he brought him and his team up to where they were unreachable, except for Izuku's team that is. Gohan! Is this really fair to our opponents? Kirishima asked. What? I'm giving them a chance while we still place, Gohan said. Aye, fair enough, Kirishima said. After a while of Izuku dodging everyone's grabby hands, most of the people went to grab other headbands to rack up points. But some people didn't get the memo that Izuku was pretty much untouchable. The boy named Shinso had Teshi bolt towards Izuku with him just dodging him easily. Izuku noticed something weird about his childhood tormentor. 1. His power level was oddly high was one thing, but he didn't shout or anything. He just charged at Izuku. He looked at his teammate and noticed that they all were acting weird. What the Izuku thought. Todoroki's team then tried to charge at him and take his 10 billion points. He failed, seeing that he was much slower than his opponent, who dodged them like everyone else. Apparently Class 1A wasn't doing so hot. Izuku had heard that from President Mike, and was wondering the same thing. While a lot of people were trying to take Izuku's points, who just so happened to be 1A, the ones who were smarter had racked up points themselves. One arrogant blonde of 1B wanted to prove that he and his class were superior to 1A in every way. He got so arrogant that tried to steal Izuku's points like everyone else did and failed. He tried to copy Izuku's quirk, but with nothing happening. "What? Why can't I copy your quirk?" said Monoma. "Maybe it's because his quirk is too powerful for you," Ochako told the blonde. "Ugh. It doesn't matter. We have enough points to qualify anyway. So I'll see you in the final showdown," Monoma said, until Shinso grabbed all of his headbands as Monoma paled at this. "Son of a hitch," he said. Izuku's team laughed at the blonde's misfortune as he and his team went to rack up more points with the little time he had. Izuku then noticed Shoto running on his icy platforms as he ran towards Izuku. Shoto then reached for Izuku's headband until "Time is up!" Midnight shouted. Todoroki had fallen off his ice as he face-planted the ground. Shinso looked at his score and saw that his score was still up for debate. He then had an idea. "You three. Go tell the teachers you'd rather not qualify," he told his teammates. Teshi, Ojiro, and Kendo started mindlessly walking towards where Aizawa and Hisashi were at. Halfway there, a hooded figure walked past Ojiro and Kendo as he placed his hand on Teshi's head, breaking out of his trance. "Wait, what the hell happened?" Teshi shouted. The hooded figure then pointed towards the two who were still mind-controlled. "You were being a puppet. He had mind-controlled you as you were oh so obedient," the figure said. "Who mind-controlled me? I'll make sure they'll have radiation poison for years," Teshi said. "He's not important. I have a mission for you," the figure told Teshi. "And if I don't accept?" Teshi asked. "Oh, you will. This mission has to do with a certain boy with a monkey tail," the figure said. "Go on," Teshi said. "Most likely, you'll fight off Midoriya in the final rounds, given that the next event will be a tournament. If you fight one of Midoriya's friends, don't kill them, but make them know who you are. With that ring of yours, you possess great power. The mission I give to you is to kill Midoriya in front of everyone, then tell them why you did such a thing. I'm sure you know what to tell them, right?" the hooded figure asked. "Yeah. The fact that this villain was gonna take advantage of everyone's heart and mind before he kills them all," Teshi noted. "That's barely half of it, my boy. The whole truth is that his race has the ability and potential to destroy entire planets. Midoriya is already able to destroy an entire solar system just by waving too hard. He's far too arrogant. He needs to be killed before he has the bright idea to destroy this planet out of his own arrogance. Do this, and I'll grant you great power," the figure said. "Honestly, I was planning on doing it anyway, so yes. I'll do exactly that," Teshi said, grinning. "Excellent." The figure then walked off. "Who the hell are you, anyway?" Teshi asked. The figure looked back at Teshi and smirked. He took his hood off to reveal a man with a rectangular face with a goatee, giant pointed ears, slicked back hair, and small horns on the top of his forehead. "Call me Debura." He then walked off and left. "All right. Our last event of this year's sports festival will be a tournament. For those who didn't make it this far, don't feel so ashamed. You can still better yourselves afterwards," President Mike shouted. The monitor then showed each of the contestants and who they were going against. Izuku Midoriya vs. Hitoshi Shinso. Shoto Todoroki vs. Hanta Siro. Meihatsum vs. Tenya Ida. Son Gohan vs. Denki Kaminari. Eijiro Kirishima vs. Tetsu. Mina Ashido vs. Teshi Kajimoto. Fumikage Tokoemi vs. Momo Yaoyorozu. Yuga Oyama vs. Ochako Uraraka. They all looked at who they were going up against. Some were confident, some were mutual, some felt like they were downright boned. "I'm so bucked," Kaminari said, looking at who he was going up against. He then felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked behind him to see Gohan himself. Do your best, alright? Gohan asked. Why yeah. Okay. Sure, Kaminari said. I'm so bucked, he mentally shouted. Mina Ishido. Who the hell is that? Teshi asked. Bruh, Mina said, looking at Teshi with a you're an idiot type of face. After moments of waiting, Izuku and Shinso were called upon to the arena for the very first match of the tournament. Ochako grabbed Izuku's arm and kissed him on the cheek. You better win, Izuku, she told him. I will, Ochako, Izuku said back. Alright. We're here on the very first match of this tournament. On my left, we have the lean mean green machine, Izuku Midoriya. And on my right, we have the mysterious boy who I still think is my colleague's son Hitoshi Shinso. President Mike shouted. Izuku and Shinso walked up to the arena with Shinso glaring at Izuku quite tiredly. Alright. The rules are if the fight goes too far, we will be forced to stop it. Begin, Midnight said. You're pretty freaking strong, Midoriya. I bet you were praised all your school years, Shinso said. No I wa. Izuku was about to finish his sentence but then stopped. He was just standing still as a board. Gotcha, Shinso said as he smirked. Now, walk off the arena and have me win. Izuku didn't do anything. He just stood there silent. Didn't you hear me? Walk off the arena already, Shinso said. Izuku still didn't obey. As a matter of fact, he started walking towards Shinso. What are you doing? I didn't tell you to walk towards me, Shinso said, getting irritated. So why do you think I got praised? Izuku asked. What? Shinso asked in shock. Izuku's eyes still seemed like he was being mind-controlled, but Izuku seemed to be fighting it off no problem. Is it because everyone around you thought you had a weak quirk? Or perhaps one you would think isn't so flashy? Or are you just not happy with your quirk? Izuku asked. It's because everyone thought I would be better off as a villain. Every kid in my classes back in grade school and middle school would always avoid me like the plague, Shinso said. That sounds all too familiar to me. I'll tell you something. No, I was not praised. As a matter of fact, I was also avoided. Not to mention I was tormented mentally and physically, and at the near end of my middle school years, I was told to kill myself. Wanna know why? Because my father was the tail villain, Hisashi, Izuku told him. Shinso was shocked at this as he went wide-eyed hearing this. He should have connected the dots sooner but only noticed now that Izuku did have some traits resembling Hisashi, such as his hair as well as his tail. Midoriya, I don't know what to say, Shinso said as he deactivated his quirk on Izuku. You don't have to say anything, Shinso. Just know that no quirk is villainous. It all depends on how you use it, Izuku told him. Thank you, Midoriya, Shinso told him. Izuku then karate chopped Shinso on the back of the neck, knocking him out. Izuku Midoriya ascends next round, Midnight shouted. At the stadium, the Chaotic 11 watched the fight go down and ended very anticlimactic. How did he manage to take control even with his mind being controlled? Trunks asked in shock. It's the fact that Midoriya was just simply too powerful to actually be taken control like that. Quirks like that are hard to train with. But maybe he could train with Ki, Rashi said. I might also have to train that Kendo girl and that Ojiro boy as well. They seem to be no strangers to martial arts. Looks like I'll have to also train that Midoriya kid myself, along with Gohan. I want to see how strong they are for myself, Vegeta said. The next two fighters will be Shoto Todoroki and Hanta Siro. Please make your way to the arena, President Mike yelled. Shoto and Siro walked up to the arena. Shoto just gave his usual cold glare while Siro was nervous for this fight. Start! Midnight shouted. Well, I may have no chance of winning, but I'm still not backing down, Siro said as he shot his tape towards Shoto. Siro then attempted to swing Shoto out of bounds. Siro thought he had this in the bag but was in for a rude awakening. Sorry, Shoto said as he set a sliding foot on the floor and shot a giant wall of ice that not only hit Zero but had frozen half the stadium, leaving everyone in shock. Dear God, man! Do you have a grudge or something? Oolong asked. It definitely seems that way. The number 2 hero, Endeavor, or whatever he goes by, did not treat him well and led his own wife to go insane and his own children to despise him, Vegeta said. And since he's the only full-blooded Saiyan to ever have a quirk, both him and his children are weaker than Yamcha. Hey! I'm right here, you know! Yamcha complained. Maybe even Hercule, Vegeta said. I think I can help train him. Emitter quirks make it hard to learn ki. But once those types of quirk users get control of ki, then their quirks will be much more powerful and will have more control over them with little to no backlash, Rashi said. He'll also have to get over his past trauma and use his full power though. Once he does that, he'll be just as powerful as you, Vegeta. Humph. As if, Vegeta said. The next fight was pretty much like a commercial for May's inventions. After May was satisfied with her advertisement, she called the tournament off and had Ida win anyway. She's like Bulma but more chaotic, Oolong said. And more reckless. Do you know how many of her inventions blew up? Bulma asked. Hey! Gohan is up next, Chi-Chi said. He better not disappoint, Vegeta said. For the next 2 fighters, we have another powerhouse who we believe is as strong as Almight, Son Gohan. And the other fighter has the power of electricity, Denki Kaminari, President Mike said. Kaminari was really nervous for this battle. He walked up to the stage to face his opponent, Gohan. Give me all you got, Kaminari, Gohan said. All right, Kaminari said, terrified. Start, Midnight said. In one desperate attempt to win, Denki charged up his most powerful move. 1,000,000-volt charge! He shouted. The entire arena was filled with electricity. When it died down, both fighters were still standing with Kaminari having his head down. When he brought his head up, he had a face that screamed, "I'm stupid." Kaminari said as he held 2 thumbs up. In the stadium, a girl named Jiro was laughing her ass off from the sight of Kaminari making an absolute fool of himself. Back in the arena, Gohan couldn't take the fight seriously as he was just clutching his stomach as he was laughing. All right, Kaminari! I'm gonna have to get you out of the ring, Gohan said. Way! Kaminari said. Gohan grabbed Kaminari by the back of the collar and chucked him off the arena as he was still laughing. Son Gohan ascends to the next round, Midnight said as she was holding in her laughter. In the stadium. He's going on the list for training, Rashi said. He seems to need better control of that quirk of his. You think? Yamcha said, laughing his ass off. You're not much brighter, Yamcha, Vegeta said. Hey! Yamcha said. The next fight was Kirishima versus Tetsu, the hardening twins. When it started, it already looked like it was gonna take a while. Mina had gone into her waiting room as the rest of her friends followed her as they all seemed concerned, seeing who she was fighting against. When they all arrived in Mina's waiting room, she sat down, trying not to seem stressed, but the sweat on her skin was a dead giveaway. Looks like I'm next, Mina said. Against Kajimoto no less, Izuku said. He will be a dreadful opponent, that is most certain, Tokoyami said. He wouldn't really go so hard on a girl, would he? Ida asked. No, he would. As a matter of fact, he fights till his opponent is crippled no matter who they are, Izuku said. Mina's fear for this fight only deepened. Midoriya! That does not help, Ida said. I kinda already knew he wouldn't go easy on a girl, but to that extent, Ochako said. He did threaten to burn Ajiri into a crisp, Dark Shadow said. Didn't I tell you to call me Tsu? Tsu said. Right. I mean Tsu. Especially the fact that Fumi likes you, Dark Shadow said. Dark Shadow! Cease your behavior, Tokoyami said. Wait. Did I hear that right? Mina asked, with her worry going out the window, and was now full of excitement. "Oh, good grief," Ida said. "Well, anyway, we have plenty of time to prepare," Ochako said, pointing at the window with them seeing Kirishima and Tetsu still punching each other. "Izuku took notes on everyone's quirks in UA. Even Kajimoto's, although he hates him with every fiber of his being. Can't say I blame him. I too am nearly done with the bastard," Ida said. The group looked at Ida in shock that he just cursed. "I'm here," Gohan said, walking through the doors. "So, what did I miss?" "We were coming up with a plan on how Ashido can fight against Kajimoto," Izuku said. "Well, that's good. I'll help," Gohan said. "Great! So anyway, Ashido, a way you can beat Kajimoto is..." Back at the fight between the hardening twins, the two landed a final blow on each other's face and knocked each other out. "Dear God! They're the same person," Cementos said. Later, after they both woke up, they were gonna finish it with an arm wrestling match. After a while, the arm wrestling match was over and Kirishima finally won. "Eijiro Kirishima ascends to the next round," Midnight said. Everyone was happy that the fight was over. It seemed like it took freaking forever. "All right. With that long battle out of the way, it's time for the next two fighters to clash. With Mina. Well, I guess this is it. Thank you guys," Mina said, still a little shaken. "Good luck out there, Ashido," Ochako said. Mina then walked towards the stage, still not feeling too confident about this fight. With her friends helping her through this, she couldn't back down now. "Now we have the nuclear bomb of Class 1A, Teshi Kajimoto. And the pink alien girl who can shoot acid from the palm of her hands, Mina Ashido. Kick his ass, Mina!" Kirishima shouted from the stadium. Mina and Teshi faced each other, as Teshi had his signature shit-eating grin with Mina taking a deep breath. "Better back down now. You don't stand a chance against me," Teshi said. "We're all rivals here. I'm not backing down," Mina said. "Your funeral, girl," Teshi said with his evil grin widening. "Start," Midnight said. In one swift movement, Teshi appeared right in front of Mina with her unable to do anything. Teshi drove his fist into her gut, breaking a few ribs as well as her spine, making her cough up blood. He then grabbed her foot and slung her on the other side of the arena, furthering any broken bones she had. "God, you're weak. Guess it makes sense seeing that you're friends with that villainous nobody," Teshi said. Mina couldn't say anything. She couldn't get up, she couldn't speak, she could barely even breathe. "Teshi Kajimoto ascends to the next round," Midnight said, regrettably. "Someone get her to the nurse, now." At that, doctors brought Mina out of the stadium on a stretcher. The whole stadium started booing Teshi with him not having a care in the world. Aizawa would have said something, but couldn't blame them. It was obvious that Teshi wasn't gonna be liked by the public. Kirishima then started running towards the room Mina was in. When he got there, he was told to wait outside. The rest of the Deku squad arrived to check up on Mina. "Is Ashido okay?" Ochako asked. "Recovery girl is doing surgery right now, I'm worried," Kirishima said. "I feel like I'm to blame here. He's really trying to send me a message because he sees me as nothing more than a villain and you guys, who are my friends, as my minions," Izuku said in regret. "If anyone is the villain, it's Kajimoto," Tsu said. "This is very much true. Kajimoto is the complete opposite of a hero at this point," Ida said. Recovery Girl had then come out of her office to bring Mina's friends the news. "Okay, I have good news and bad news," she said, looking at the seven. "What's the good news?" Kirishima asked in worry. "The good news is she's still alive," said Recovery Girl. "What's the bad news?" Kirishima asked, nervously. "She may never walk again. She's paralyzed from the waist down. She's lucky that was all she had." At this, Kirishima's eyes shadowed and he marched away in anger. He was walking towards the gym in the stadium as his anger boiled. With the Z fighters, They all had faces of shock on their faces during the fight no massacre that took place before them. Well, he certainly has Vegeta's violent nature, Krillin said. I'm not that crude, Vegeta said. Can't argue with that, Vegeta. I hear that girl is one of Midoriya's and Gohan's close friends. That boy is gonna end up digging his own grave if he's doing what I think he's doing, Rashi said. Back in the nurse's office, the Deku squad, except for Tokoyami because he's fighting Momo in the arena, were visiting Mina as she was awake. Hey guys, Mina said. Ashido. Are you alright? Ochako asked, concerned. Yeah. I'm fine. Kajimoto was more ruthless than I thought. He really did turn me into a cripple, Mina said, hiding her sadness. Guess this means my hero career is over, huh? Not quite, Gohan said. Here, eat this. He then gave her a bean. A bean? Why though? Mina asked. It'll heal your wounds to the point that it'll seem like it never happened. It saved my friends' lives about 1,000,000 times, Gohan said. Well, alright. I guess it wouldn't hurt, Mina said. She then ate the bean and all her scars from the surgery healed, and she had feeling on her legs again. Wow! You weren't bullshitting. Fumikage Tokoyami ascends to the next round, Midnight shouted through the intercom. Well, I guess my turn is up. Wish me luck, guys. And I'm glad you're better now, Ashido, Ochako said. Thanks, Uraraka. And thank you, Mina said. Good luck out there, Ochako, Izuku told her. For the final contestants of the first round, we have the strongest woman in the world, Ochako Uraraka, and her opponent, the dazzling superstar, Yuga Aoyama. Ochako and Aoyama walked up to the stage and stared at each other. Aoyama then looked at the reader. Well, the narrator of this fanfic really sold me short, didn't he? Aoyama said. Start, Midnight said. Ochako immediately used her telekinesis and threw Aoyama out of the arena, making her the final winner of the first round. Ochako Uraraka ascends to the next round, Midnight said. Meanwhile, with Vegeta. He was walking through the stadium to find a certain Saiyan with a quirk. When he found a giant man with a fiery face, he knew it was him. NG, Vegeta said. How do you know my na? NG said as he looked behind him and went wide-eyed, seeing the familiar face. Prince Vegeta. It's good to see you. Save the casualties, NG, Vegeta said, straight to the point. Of course, Prince Vegeta. I have a wife and son, Shoto Todoroki, Endeavor said. I know that's not your only son, NG. You had 3 other children before that one just to your pathetic attempt to make the perfect child or whatever. I myself have a wife and a son. I trained my son as well as Kakaroto's youngest son to be the best Saiyan warriors. With you being the first Saiyan with a quirk, you were and have always been weak. All your children are weaker as well. They're no better than an earthling with a quirk, Vegeta said. Listen, Vegeta. Once my son gets out of his rebellious phase, he'll be strong enough to beat Frieza, maybe even Cell, NG said. If you believe that, then you're dumber than Kakaroto. You actually believe even at full power, he'll be as powerful as those 2 planet destroyers. Not to mention, you drove your own wife to insanity to the point she burnt your son's left eye. Right now, he has no chance against someone as powerful as Midoriya or Gohan, Vegeta said. Maybe if you trained him as a Saiyan and not for his quirk, maybe the outcome would be different. Vegeta then went on his way, back with the group he was with. Alright. With the first round out of the way, it's time for the second round. For the first 2 contestants of this round, we'll have Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki, President Mike shouted. The 2 walked up on the arena with them glaring down one another. Start! Midnight shouted. Shoto immediately shot a pillar of ice towards Izuku with him swiftly swiping his hand to shatter the ice to nothing. Shoto shot another pillar of ice at Izuku only to have the same result. Come on, Todoroki! Use your full power! Use your fire! Izuku shouted. No! I will never use his side! Todoroki said as he just shot another wall of ice only for it to get swiped away like nothing again. Todoroki. I know how it feels to not like who you are. Trust me, I've been there. A quirk is something someone is born with, Izuku said. Todoroki only gave a cold glare and shot another wave of ice for it to have it broken down to nothing again. Izuku noticed that he was starting to freeze. You're willing to give yourself hypothermia just so you can prove a point to your father? Use your fire, damn it, Izuku said. Todoroki then shot another wave of ice. Izuku then powered up unknowingly. For God's sakes, Todoroki, it's yours! Your quirk, not his! Izuku shouted. Todoroki then went wide-eyed hearing this. He remembered when his mother would show him a podcast of All Might saving civilians. Shoto. It doesn't matter what kind of hero you want to be the kind of hero you want to be, Shoto's mother said in his flashback. I want to be the hero that makes everyone feel safe, Shoto said. Back in the present. I want to be a hero that makes everyone feel safe, Shoto said. Then use your fire. How do you expect to save anybody if you can't use your full power at all? Izuku shouted. At this, a pillar of flame shot into the sky as Shoto's left side ignited. Izuku grinned at this. He then charged up one of his super moves that he worked on perfecting. In fact, he worked on all of his super moves to give them a better meaning. With my training, I mastered the elements through ki. Summer's heat burns brighter, winter's break can freeze my opponent, fall's harvest can heal better, and spring's wind is now spring's storm, Izuku thought. Shoto then shot the biggest wave of ice he had before as Izuku just walked through it with his ki in his hands as he melted the ice. Shoto then started heating up the arena like a jet engine as he slowly brought his hand in front of him. When Shoto put his hand in front of him, he was now face to face with the palm of Izuku's hand as it collided, making a huge explosion. Smoke flew everywhere and nobody could see anything. When the smoke cleared out, Izuku was seen standing in victory as the top half of his gym wear was in tatters, showing off his muscles with Ochako getting a nosebleed at the sight of him. Yayorozu! Make some binoculars! I want to get a closer look OW! Toru said as she got back slapped by Ochako, who had a tick mark on her head. Oh hey Uraraka! Sorry. Your boyfriend is just so hot. Hagakure, don't try anything. Remember she can break you like a twig, Mina told her. Hey! I'm just saying. Besides, I'm an Izuku shipper like you are, a Shido, Toru said, sweat dropping. Oh, for crying out loud, Momo said, pinching the bridge of her nose. With the Z fighters. Looks like I'll be having to train him as well. Izuku managed to break him out of the chains of his past. Maybe I should train his father as well, maybe even give him a stern talking to, Rashi said. You got that right, Bulma said. The next fight was with Gohan and Ida. The fight was over rather quickly with Ida immediately trying to kick Gohan, with Gohan blocking it by grabbing Ida's foot and chucking him out of the arena. With Kirishima. Kirishima was in the gym, punching a punching bag without his quirk. He had not heard that Mina was fully healed and walking, so he was still furious beyond belief. The next two fighters are Teshi Kajimoto versus Eijiro Kirishima. President Mike shouted into the intercom. Kirishima grinned as he was getting ready. Perfect. I'm gonna rip him apart, he said. He started walking towards the arena. When he did, he saw Teshi, and just by the sheer sight of him, Kirishima was pissed. It's not too late to back down now. Go ahead and turn tail and run, Teshi said arrogantly. Not a bucking chance, Kirishima said, extremely mad. Start! At that, Teshi did the same thing to Kirishima as he did to Mina. Only difference was that Kirishima didn't budge. He hardened himself as hard as he could. He barely looked human. Kirishima started throwing punches at Teshi and managed to draw blood on him. Teshi tried to shoot a mini nuke at Kirishima with it doing nothing to him. He then tried to grab Kirishima by the face as Kirishima bit his hand as if it was a fried chicken wing, with Teshi letting out a pained scream. Teshi put his other hand on Kirishima's face, shooting nukes into his face with him not letting go. Let go of my hand, damn it! Teshi shouted as he kept shooting nukes into Kirishima's face. Kirishima let go of Teshi's hand but then gripped his wrist and shoved his hardened hand into Teshi's gut. When Kirishima let his hand out, Teshi's gut started spilling out. Kirishima grabbed his gut and wrapped them around Teshi's neck as he strangled him as he was losing blood. The people watched this in horror as Kirishima was really getting ready to kill Teshi. Of course, some were rooting for Kirishima to do so, given how much they hate him. He told Izuku to kill himself, not to mention the amount of torment. He tried to take Ochako away from Izuku, he tried to pick a fight with Tsu, and he made Mina handicapped, which really pissed off Kirishima. Midnight! We need to stop this fight! He's going to kill him! Cementos shouted, getting Midnight out of her shocked phase. Right, she said as she ripped off her sleeve. Both Cementos and Midnight activated their quirks to put a stop to the fight. As Teshi was getting strangled by his own intestines, he was losing consciousness. Before he passed out, he put both hands on each side of Kirishima's face, who was still behind him, and ignited his quirk at full power, which blew away both the pro-hero's quirks. The atomic energy started melting the arena as Kirishima still held on. Finally, a pillar of atomic energy shot up into the sky, which covered the entire arena and broke all the windows. When the pillar ceased, a mushroom cloud appeared. Smoke was everywhere at that point. The smoke cleared with Teshi holding Kirishima down by his face. When Teshi removed his hand, Kirishima was seen with half his face burnt and knocked out. Ugh, you thought you could really kill me, didn't you? I bet that damn villain told you to kill me, didn't he? He wants me dead just so I don't spread the truth about him. Look at you, half your face is burnt now. Teshi then looked at one particular person. You see this, DKU? This is because of you. You made this happen. Izuku was getting angry at this. Teshi had injured two of his friends, but what he was gonna say next was gonna add fuel to the fire. And that round face of yours, better hope we're not in the same arena as one another. Not to mention, when I put an end to your ASS, I'm gonna have my way with that hitch. Izuku started having pulses pop out of his head, and was ready to lunge at Teshi. Luckily for Teshi, Izuku was stopped by Ochako, who held his arm and tried to calm him down, which she did. Midnight didn't say anything and the crowd was silent. After Teshi stopped shouting, he passed out from the loss of blood from his guts being ripped out. Everyone in the stadium was silent. They just witnessed two students of UA going at each other's throats, literally. We're gonna take a short break, President Mike said. Izuku, Ochako, Tokoe Miida, Tsu, Gohan and Mina all started running towards the nurse's office to find Kirishima. Kirishima and Teshi were put in different rooms just in case they tried to kill each other again. When they arrived in Kirishima's room, they all saw a bandage wrapped around his face. He was apparently lucky for the fact that he had a hardening quirk, or he would have evaporated. Ijiro, Mina said, running up to his hospital bed. Little did she know, Kirishima was awake. Mina? Kirishima said, muffled under all the bandages on his face. Hey, Kirishima. Ashido is able to walk and everything, Gohan told him. Wait, really? Kirishima asked. Yep. It's all thanks to that magic bean Gohan gave me. It even looks as if I wasn't even injured, Mina told him. As a matter of fact, do you think you can open your mouth for me? I'm gonna remove the bandages around your mouth and I'm gonna feed you one of those beans. Okay. If you say it works, I won't question it, Kirishima said. Mina gently removed the bandages around Kirishima's mouth and beckoned Gohan to hand her a senzu bean. Gohan complied with this as Mina fed Kirishima the bean afterwards. Kirishima sat up and removed the bandages off of his face to see all his friends in the room. Hey guys, Kirishima said. I guess I went a little far, didn't I? Nobody here blames you, Mina said as she wrapped her arms around Kirishima, bringing him in for a deep kiss. The rest were seeing their two friends beginning a heated makeout session. They then decided to leave the two alone. By the way, Uraraka, we should be prepared for a great battle. Dark Shadow and I know how strong you are, so don't think we'll go easy on you, Tokoyami said. I don't plan on going easy either. So just be prepared, Ochako told him. Excellent, Tokoyami said. He actually knew he was gonna get his ass kicked but still tries to act like he's not afraid. By the way, Ochako, can I talk with you in private? Izuku asked. Of course, Izuku, Ochako said. Ochako followed Izuku to an area where nobody could see or hear them. What do you need, Izuku? Ochako asked. I just want to say, I know you're strong and everything, but I can't help but to worry about you. When you get past Tokoyami, you'll have to fight Kajimoto next. Normally I wouldn't worry, but his power is strangely high. Not to mention he'll be very ruthless just at the fact that we're friends, Izuku said. It's bad enough that we witnessed Ishido become a cripple with just a few punches and Kirishima losing most of his face. I couldn't bear to see you hurt. Izuku, listen, Ochako said. Izuku looked at Ochako as she held onto his face. I get how you feel, I just want to let you know that I'll be fine. We have senzu beans just in case I do get beaten with an inch of my life. Just please promise me you won't go haywire during mine and Kajimoto's fight. Okay? Maybe we can fight in the final round. Izuku held on to Ochako's arms and gripped them tighter than he was planning to. He had tears stinging his eyes as he was about to speak. I just don't want to see you so hurt, Izuku sobbed. Izuku, it's okay. Remember, I can control 500% of One for All, so you have nothing to worry about, Ochako told him. Izuku calms himself down as he loosens his grip on Ochako's arms. Okay. I'll try to keep my cool. But if he does to you what he did to Ishido or Kirishima, let's just say, he won't be alive after the next hour, Izuku said. You'll possibly do the world a favor, Ochako said. Meanwhile, with Aizawa, Hisashi, Midnight and Cementos, Niza had called these teachers to a short meeting. When they were all there, Niza himself walked in and sat in his chair. Okay. All I'm going to say in this meeting is that a certain student is trying to get to our Saiyan student, he said. What do you think we're supposed to do? We can't stop Midoriya, Cementos said. In all honesty, I don't want any of you to do anything. Kajimoto is only digging his own grave at this. If Midoriya wants to kill him, let him. If Midoriya decides to let him live, then he will be put in general studies. It's a good thing another one of our Saiyan students, Gohan, has those magic beans that can heal any mortal injury, Niza said. You're actually okay with a student killing another student? Midnight asked in shock. What choice do we have? Midoriya has the power to destroy entire planets, Aizawa said. Who said I was okay with it? Niza said. Kajimoto has brought this on himself. He will be lucky to even be in this school after today. It's normally best for Saiyans to fight and kill those they hate, Aizawa said. I warned him about this, he chose not to listen. I should note, Midoriya's mother, Inko Midoriya, was threatened to be arrested after Midoriya himself punched Kajimoto hard enough that he had his eye fly out. Midoriya threw the principal, who was the one who made that threat, out of the window and put him into a coma, Niza said. Geez, Hisashi said. Such an adorable young man but so ruthless, Midnight said in a sultry tone. Oh dear God, Namuri, stop, Aizawa said, pinching the bridge of his nose. Another thing, if Midoriya decides to kill him, he will show no remorse. As a matter of fact, he'll probably find it therapeutic, Niza said. How can you be so sure about that? Cementos asked. That's an easy question to answer. It's simply the fact that he's a Saiyan. Once someone pushes a Saiyan far enough for them to snap, they'll kill said person without hesitation. Right now, Midoriya is not far off from snapping at Kajimoto, Niza said. That couldn't be more true. He nearly killed Kajimoto in heroic exercises, Aizawa said. Exactly. Almight should be here, but this meeting shall come to an end. Someone should inform him with this information. For now, we shall keep this sports festival coming. When Midoriya ends up fighting Kajimoto, don't interfere, Niza said. Chapter 11, Izuku's Blood-Filled Rage. The tournament continues with Ochako winning her fight against Tokoemi with a couple of key blasts to suppress Dark Shadow. The semifinals were finally starting. It was now Izuku's and Gohan's match coming up next. The two half-Saiyans walked up to the stage ready for their match. Alright. Today we have the two strongest students here at UA High. Izuku Midoriya vs Son Gohan. Buckle up everyone. It's gonna be one crazy ride, President Mike said. Izuku and Gohan faced each other as they got into a fighting pose. In the arena, they both took their weights off so they could both give it their all. Start! Midnight shouted. At the blink of an eye, the two collided fists and made a giant gust of wind as their fists made contact. The two were faster than the eye could see. Neither one had ascended to their next form, but they definitely impressed the audience. Gohan then ascended to Super Saiyan after a while of colliding fists, while Izuku was still in his base form. Incredible! Izuku is able to hold his own in base form while Gohan is struggling in his Super Saiyan form, Rashi said. Vegeta looked like he was having an existential crisis. Back at the fight, Izuku and Gohan were still colliding fists, with neither one of them yielding at all. With each punch and kick blocked and ki blasts evaded, each made an explosion or gust of wind. Everyone at this point was holding on to their seats for this fight. The two then flew into the air and got ready to fight at max power. Izuku ascended to his Ikari form while Gohan ascended to Super Saiyan 2. The two started trading blows and each blow started clearing the skies from clouds. From the stadium, it looked as if they were watching fireworks go off that are the equivalent of a nuclear bomb in the sky. The Deku squad was amazed by this. Who do you think is gonna win? Kirishima asked. I'm rooting for Izuku, Ochako said. Of course you are, Mina said. With the Z fighters. Go Gohan! Videl shouted. These two sure are something, Krillin said. You'd think that Gohan trained Izuku, but no. It was the other way around. Izuku is far more powerful than any of us realizes, Rashi said. Wait. What do you mean Izuku trained Gohan? Chi-Chi asked. You should know, unlike any Saiyan ever lived, Gohan does not like fighting. While his potential and gift is that his power can ascend quicker than most, he is a unique type of Saiyan. However, Izuku on the other hand, grew up wanting to be a hero. So he trained with other martial artists such as the Pro Hero, Eraserhead, and the other Pro Hero who is famous for martial arts, Gunhead. Not to mention, his weights he wears get heavier the stronger he gets. His mother got those for him on his 8th birthday, and he got them from Shield Corporation. Rashi explained. How do you know all of that? Bulma asked. You forget my sister is Baba, Rashi noted. Why do you think I recommended Izuku to help you guys against Cell? That actually makes sense, Bulma said. Vegeta was watching the battle in silence. I can't believe I'm in the shadow of another half-Saiyan. First it was Kakarot, then his offspring, then that low-class idiot's offspring, Vegeta thought. Back at the fight, Izuku and Gohan were still trading blows, with Gohan starting to exhaust himself as well as feeling Izuku's punches, which felt like Cell punching him at full power. Only Izuku wasn't at full power. Gohan ended up leaving himself open with Izuku punching him hard as he started flying far. He ended up flying towards the same area where the Cell games took place as he ended up lying on the ground. Izuku flew towards Gohan as Gohan was trying to get himself up. When Gohan did get himself up on his feet, Gohan powered up once again, indicating that he can still keep going. Izuku jumped back and brought his hands back. Gohan started charging up a sky blue sphere as he brought his hands back as well. Kamehameha! Both Izuku and Gohan yelled out as Izuku had a sky blue beam with a green glow as it was about to collide with Gohan's beam of energy. Izuku was in his Ikari form, still, while Gohan was giving all he could give. Right now, their beams were at equal and the struggle could be compared to when Gohan struggled with Cell, but bigger. Guess I should help out, like old times sake. I Gohan? Goku said within Gohan's mind. Yeah. I could use the help. Izuku is really strong, Gohan said. Like you'll really make a difference helping out, Bakugo said to Goku. He then got back slapped by King Kai. "Ow!" he shouted. "Anyway, let's do this, son!" Goku shouted. Kamehameha! The beam then started growing bigger and started pushing Izuku back a little. Izuku smirked at this as he was ready to bring out his full power. "You really are strong, Gohan. But I'm not done yet. Hiya!" Izuku shouted as he went into his legendary Super Saiyan form and pushed Gohan's beam to the point Gohan couldn't keep his footing anymore. Before the beam ended up hitting Gohan, Izuku ceased his blast and descended back to his base form. He then flew towards Gohan to make sure he was alright. Sure enough, he was. "That was a great fight, Gohan," Izuku said. "Heh. I should tell Vegeta to shut the hell up next time he says we don't need you," Gohan said, smiling at Izuku faintly. "You mind helping me up? I've used up all my energy." Izuku obliged and carried Gohan over his arms back towards the sports festival arena. Everyone saw that Gohan was clearly unable to battle, given the fact he had to be carried. "Izuku Midoriya ascends to the final round," Midnight shouted. The crowd went wild. Gohan was carried out with a stretcher, as he fell asleep on the way to RG's office. Izuku walked off the arena and was met with a tight embrace by none other than his girlfriend, Ochako Uraraka. "Deku! You were amazing out there!" she said excitedly. Izuku hugged her back. "Gohan sure was strong. He actually pushed me to go Super Saiyan." "Yeah, and you tuckered him out," Ochako said. "I guess I'd better get ready for my fight with Kajimoto." "Ochako, I can help you plan this out if you'd like," Izuku told her. "Oh no. I had a plan since the very start of the tournament. If that doesn't work, I'm gonna have to go beyond my full power," Ochako said. "Ochako, you're already able to control 500% of One for All. How much further are you planning to go?" Izuku asked, concerned. "Just enough to at least put him to sleep," Ochako said. At that, Ochako walked off, leaving Izuku shocked. Her bubbly personality was replaced with an angry expression. She was gonna let Kajimoto have it this time. Later on, the battle between Ochako Uraraka versus Teshi Kajimoto as well as the end of the semi-finals were about to start. "Alright. At the end of the semi-finals, we have the Pink Menace and the one I'm personally rooting for, Ochako Uraraka. And her opponent, we have the nuke head, Teshi Kajimoto," President Mike shouted. "Better back down while you still can. I'm superior in every way," Teshi said arrogantly. "And I'm queen shit of Buck Mountain," Ochako said, powering up One for All. "You'll learn your place after this," Teshi said with his signature arrogant smirk. "Start!" Midnight shouted. Teshi, at a blink of an eye, appeared right in front of Ochako, readying a punch. That punch was easily caught. Ochako then punched Teshi away. Teshi powered up his nuclear energy and went for another punch. Ochako swiped his fist away and kicked him in the face. "If that's really all you got, then I'm disappointed," Ochako said. "Better deflate your ego, sweet cheeks. I'm just warming up," Teshi said as he powered up again and threw 2 mini nukes towards Ochako. Ochako fired 2 ki blasts to combat those nukes, which made 2 mushroom clouds that covered the whole arena. Ochako couldn't see past all the smoke, so she relied on sensing energy. She sensed that Teshi was about to attack her from behind. As Teshi was right behind her, Ochako punched him with the back of her hand hard enough to clear the smoke out. "You seriously call yourself superior? I suffered hotter showers than that," Ochako said with a smirk. "Why isn't this damn ring working? This ring is supposed to give me unrivaled power." Teshi was bruised up significantly. He looked at the ring to see that there was a button under said ring. "Maybe this will help." Teshi then pushed the button. When he did, a needle poked his finger, seemingly drawing blood. His nuclear energy erupted into the sky as orange lightning danced around him, as well as his eyes glowing orange. All who could sense energy felt a sudden spike of energy coming from Teshi. "What strange power! It almost seems like he's a Saiyan. His power could possibly rival Goku's at this point," Rashi said. "But how is it that he had a sudden boost in power?" Back in the arena, Ochako was now facing Teshi as if he just took a year's worth of steroids in one go. She jumped towards Teshi at 50% only for it to be blocked. Teshi then slugged Ochako in the gut and shot a nuke at her, causing her great pain. She flew back but got back up and went 100% this time, as her fists could be compared to bullets at this point. Unfortunately, all those fists were caught simply. Teshi then grabbed her face and slammed her on the ground. Or so he thought. It seemed like he only grabbed her gym uniform. Ochako came up from behind Teshi at full power and punched Teshi hard in the back as she sent him flying. She was going 500% as she started throwing a barrage of ki blasts at Teshi. She then used her telekinesis and slammed him into the ground. She then used a gravity bomb and trapped him inside it. All the debris in the arena trapped Teshi inside the gravity bomb. The bomb then exploded with Teshi being blown backwards. "That's it! I'm ending this!" Teshi shouted as he flew up into the air and lifted his arms up. He started gathering every bit of his nuclear energy, as he started making what looked like an orange spirit bomb. "What on earth is he doing? He's gonna destroy the entire planet!" Rashi shouted. Ochako then brought her hands back as her power erupted greatly. "If this doesn't work, then I'm out of options. One for all 1,000,000%. She shouted in her head. Kamehameha! She then shot a giant blast as Teshi threw his giant ball of nuclear energy, as they were now struggling. Teshi was adding more to the nuclear energy as the ball he threw was getting bigger and bigger while Ochako was trying to blast it away. As she was struggling, she had an idea. She mixed her gravity bomb with the Kamehameha wave as a black ball was forming inside the ball of nuclear energy. Incredible! Uraraka's desperate attempt to keep herself alive has made her even more powerful than Goku. She's not even a Saiyan, Rashi said. Izuku, Ida, Kirishima, Mina, Tokoemi, Tsu and Gohan were all watching in amazement seeing Ochako hold her own against Teshi's earth-shattering bomb. While Izuku was amazed by Ochako, he was also worried. The bomb Teshi threw was enough to possibly destroy the planet, or kill everyone in the stadium. He wanted to help but didn't want to risk anything. What nobody knows is that Teshi has been cheating. The black orb in Teshi's ball of nuclear power was growing. Teshi's one eye has widened at this. He then ended up getting sucked into the gravity bomb that was mixed with incredible amounts of nuclear energy. When he was in the center, the ball of energy exploded, leaving everyone seeing white with their ears ringing. When everyone's eyes adjusted back regularly, everyone saw a giant smoke cloud above the entire stadium. You couldn't see anything above that. Ochako's energy was drained from the mix of ki blasts, as well as using one for all at 1,000,000%. She was standing there, motionless but still alive and breathing nonetheless. She had the thought she had won. Although, she didn't have any energy left to move a single muscle. Toshinori, who was watching from the watchroom, was amazed at the display that his successor had shown. Sadly, everyone's celebration, as well as Ochako's, was cut short when a pillar of smoke shot back down towards the arena. The smoke cleared to show Teshi all bruised up but still up and running. Everyone in the stadium was shocked to see Teshi still standing, let alone alive. Ochako was now in fear to see the arrogant walking nuke glaring at her with his one eye as well as tatters all over. "So, you really thought you could beat me?" Teshi asked as he punched Ochako in the chest with her gasping for air. Teshi then grabbed her by the hair, picked her up off her feet and started slugging her in the stomach as well as her face, making sure she coughs up blood and also bleeding from the face. In the stadium, Izuku was watching helplessly as he witnessed his girlfriend get battered by his childhood tormentor. Veins were popping out of his head from the sight of this. Gohan saw this and knew what was about to happen, as well as the rest of the Deku squad. Back at the arena, Teshi was still going ham on Ochako with her not having any energy to even lift a finger. Teshi then slammed her face into the arena then stepped on her face. "I shouldn't be so surprised. You hang out with that Deku too damn much. But I gotta say, you have a nice body," Teshi said as he groped one of her breasts. Teshi then lifted her arm and twisted it till it was dislocated, causing her to scream in agony. He then lifted her leg and did the same thing as Ochako screamed till she passed out. There was a mix of anger and sadness at the sight. If the crowd didn't like Teshi before, they certainly don't now. Okay. That's enough, Midnight said, pushing Teshi off of Ochako. Midnight checked Ochako's pulse. She was alive, but terribly battered and knocked out. With regret, Midnight lifted the flag where Teshi came in on the arena while covering her face, indicating Teshi had won. The whole stadium erupted in boos as Teshi just laughed and walked off the arena while Ochako was being taken by a stretcher. Back in the stadium, Izuku stormed off with his green aura around him with his eyes a fiery yellow. He was pissed as all hell. When he was walking through the hallways, he ended up running into Teshi on the way. Looking for pink cheeks? I made sure I marked my territory to make her my hitch, Teshi said with an arrogant laugh. That was it for Izuku. He grabbed Teshi by the collar and threw him across the hallway. He was about to attack him out of anger until... Midoriya! Stand down, Aizawa said. Wait till the tournament. You'll have your chance to beat him with an inch of his life. Izuku looked at Teshi and then grabbed him by the neck and brought him towards his face with a glare that could possibly kill. Listen here, Kajimoto. You beat my friends with an inch of their life and now battered my girlfriend. If you don't back down from this fight, they'll have to scrape your remains off that arena, if not somewhere else, Izuku said as he threw Teshi on the ground, then stormed off in anger. Aizawa looked at Izuku as he walked off. He had never seen someone so angry in his life. You really did it this time, Kajimoto, Aizawa said. What is he gonna do? I'm superior in every way. I'll be the one to show everyone what a villain he is before I beat him to the ground, Teshi said. Really? Because, unless you're blind to see it, you just showed the whole freaking world that you're no better than the worst villain, Aizawa said. Not to mention, now that you've pissed him off, the only choice the staff of UA has is to put your life into his hands. Since you believe that you're the best with no equal, maybe it'll be best for him to show you what he'd actually be if he was a villain. So, you're actually gonna let him kill me? That won't look good for this school, Teshi said. Especially the fact that you can stop his quirk. No, Kajimoto. I can't. I've already tried countless times, Aizawa said. He began to walk off. He then took another look at Teshi. I wish there was another way, Kajimoto. The staff was even talking about canceling the sports festival because of something like this. If I were you, I'd drop out, but that's just me. He then walked off. With Izuku. He was sitting next to Ochako's bed as she was asleep with her attached to 4 machines with a cast around her arm and leg. It broke his heart to see her like this. He couldn't feed her a senzu bean because of the fact she was also hooked up to a breathing machine while asleep. Why didn't I stop it? Izuku asked himself in anger. I could have prevented this. If I just... Arji patted him on the back to calm him down. Izuku looked at her with teary eyes. She'll be fine, dear, she reassured him. As soon as she wakes up, I'll give her these magic beans that Gohan let me borrow. Of course, I won't be using them on that nuclear wasteland. I'll make sure he'll be broken to the point that the senzu beans won't help, Izuku said with veins popping out of his face with his eyes glowing yellow. I honestly can't wait for this fight to start. The weight is killing me just thinking about what I'm gonna do to him. Recovery Girl was terrified at how Izuku's tone turned into a dark, growly tone. He then walked out of the door and saw his friends waiting outside of Ochako's nurse room to also visit her. Dude, are you alright? Kirishima asked in concern. Never better. I'm gonna turn that shit pile inside out, ass first, Izuku said. Izuku's friends saw that he had lost his mind. They were actually scared of him at this point. He barely looked like himself. He barely looked human. Izuku walked off into his waiting room as his friends just watched him walk off. Gohan, since you and Midoriya have similar quirks, does that happen when the user of said quirk gets angry? Ida asked. Yeah, I remember how a quirk acted like that, not pretty, Gohan said. Well, when this fight ends, all I can say is, I hope Kajimoto lived a good life and I hope it was worth it, Tsu said. I guess the good news is, Kajimoto doesn't need to keep looking for his god. Because he's right there and fresh out of mercy, Tokoyami said. Everyone nodded. He will not be missed, Mina said. Later, the sports festival tournament was finally about to come to an end. In possibly the most gruesome way. All right. Here we are at the final round of this year's sports festival tournament. The two that made it this far are Izuku Midoriya and his opponent Teshi Kajimoto. President Mike yelled out. The two walked onto the arena. The ground was shaking with Izuku having a face of pure rage. His rage was pointed towards none other than his childhood tormentor, Teshi. I've been looking forward to this. I get to cripple the villain himself, Teshi said. Start, Midnight said as she and Cementos got the buck out of there. Izuku started gripping his head as he went Super Saiyan. He then let out a pained scream as his aura erupted with his power increasing drastically. He was angrier than he ever was before. Everyone in the stadium saw that Izuku had become a beast that crawled out of hell. He went from the nicest cinnamon roll on planet Earth to a menacing beast lost to rage. Teshi, being as stupid as he is, tried to lunge at Izuku and punched him square in the face with it doing absolutely nothing. Izuku then gripped his arm and started slamming him to the ground while lifting cement off the arena. Izuku then lifted Kajimoto up into the air and threw him down as hard as he could. Teshi had nearly bounced off the arena, but Izuku grabbed his foot and threw him in the middle of the arena. Izuku then grabbed the back of his head and started dragging him all around the arena as cement filled his empty eye socket. He wasn't done there. He lifted him in the air and, with a spin, kicked him right in the neck, slamming him down on the arena. He then went back down towards the arena and started stomping his back, his legs and his arms. Kajimoto couldn't scream because his vocal cords were destroyed from Izuku's neck kick. Izuku was far from done there. He picked Kajimoto by his neck as he slugged him hard enough in his one eye as it flew out, making a sonic boom. Before Teshi could fly out of the stadium, Izuku grabbed the back of his head and slammed it onto the ground. He then stepped on Teshi's back as he ripped both his arms off. He then fired a few ki blasts which made some skin fly off as most of his nerves were getting fried to the point where he couldn't feel anything. He then grabbed him by the foot and started slinging him around like a ragdoll, making sure there wasn't a bone in him that wasn't broken. Kajimoto was still breathing, surprisingly. He looked like he had been deep fried from the surface of the sun. All his bones were broken, his other eye was completely gone, and he had some skin melted off. Izuku had then gone back into his base form and took a deep breath. Honestly, as much as I want to, if I did kill you, I'd be no better than my father, Izuku said. He then noticed something shiny on his finger from one of the arms he ripped off. He took a ring off his finger that had a Capsule Corp symbol on it. Bulma, isn't that the ring you were working on? Vegeta asked. Wait, what? Bulma then got her binoculars out and sure enough, it was. That son of a hitch! Vegeta! Fly me down there! Vegeta didn't argue as he grabbed Bulma and flew her down the arena. When the two were in the arena, Izuku gave Bulma the ring. She thanked him and went up to Midnight and grabbed the mic. All right. Listen up! That guy has been cheating all this time. This ring is a prototype that enhances the wearer's strength and durability drastically with a push of this button. Bulma shouted as she showed a button on the ring that had the Capsule Corp symbol on it. Teshi Kajimoto is disqualified. We will decide the winner of second and third place with a simple arm wrestling match, Midnight shouted. As Teshi was being carried off by a stretcher, the crowd started booing him while throwing stuff at him. When Ochako woke up, those who fought against Teshi were given a second chance through arm wrestling. Kirishima and Mina went up first. The two struggled, but Kirishima won but was quite out of breath. Geez, Mina. You're freaking strong, he told his girlfriend. Well, I have trained with you, Aijiro, Mina said. Next was Kirishima versus Ochako. Ochako hadn't even used her quirk and won effortlessly. Kirishima was both not so surprised but also very surprised at the same time. Then it was Gohan versus Ochako. It was one of those arm wrestling contests where one was struggling to make the other budge while the other just kept their hands in the middle. Ochako was going at full power at 500% but couldn't manage to get Gohan to break a sweat. Gohan then put weight on his arm and ended the arm wrestling contest. Since Izuku already won against Gohan in their match, Izuku was in first, Gohan second and Ochako third. Finally, the award ceremony was about to start. "What did I miss?" Piccolo asked, coming back to his group. "We didn't even know you were gone. Where were you?" Yamcha asked. "I was training that Shoto Todoroki kid. By the way, Vegeta, you better watch yourself. He's getting strong fast," Piccolo told him. "Guess I'll have to put him on my list," Vegeta said. "What list?" Bulma asked. "My list of Saiyans I'm gonna have to whip into shape," Vegeta said. "What about that Katsuki kid that died by that one demon Saiyan?" Piccolo asked. "I'll just have to wish his ass back to life," Vegeta said. The award ceremony has started and Izuku, Gohan and Ochako were on top of 3 pedestals that were marked for first, second and third. All Might then dropped down. "I am here, with medals!" he boomed. He then walked over to Ochako. "Young Uraraka, you have shown incredible strength in that arena. Here's your medal." He then gave Ochako her medal. "Thank you, All Might," Ochako said. She then received a hug from him. All Might then walked over to Gohan after releasing Ochako from said hug. "Young Gohan, I've never seen such an incredible battle in my life. You and Izuku were possibly the strongest I've ever seen," All Might said as he gave Gohan his medal then hugged him as well. "Thank you, All Might. I'll make sure to get stronger," he said. All Might then released the hug and went up to Izuku. "Young Izuku, I'm very proud of you. Not only have you won this year's sports festival, but you also saved young Todoroki from the shackles of his past and encouraged him to become even stronger. And when you also spared a life showing the world that you are the bigger man, although he's now, you know what, that's not important. What's important is what happens now. You've proven to the world that you're the hero of today," All Might told him. He gave Izuku his medal and hugged him. "Thank you, All Might," Izuku said. "And now, this is the end of this year's sports festival. For those who didn't win, you still have years of improvement left. Remember to go beyond. Plus Ultra!" The crowd cheered. Ochako then jumped onto Izuku's pedestal and kissed him, while Videl flew towards Gohan's pedestal and kissed him as well with the crowd roaring with cheer. Meanwhile, with Teshi. Teshi was in a hospital bed, all bandaged up from top to bottom. He couldn't lift a single finger, because his arms were ripped off, or even speak. He's alive, but he can't see, move, or speak. The nerve that lets him activate his quirk is fried as well as a bunch of other nerves. He's lucky to even be breathing, Argy said. Can he at least think? Aizawa asked. What the hell makes you think he could do that in the first place? Argy asked. Point taken. Can he hear? Aizawa asked. Surprisingly, yes, Argy said. Good. I want him to hear our conversation, Bulma said. All Teshi could see was blackness. He didn't know what room he was in. Hey! You know who I am? I'm the woman who owns Capsule Corp, you sack of shit, Bulma told Teshi. Your ass is lucky to be alive. Since you believe that Midoriya is a villain, guess what? He spared you. That's right. He bucking spared your sorry ass even after everything you've done to him, Aizawa said. Can't say much about my wife though. She doesn't give mercy to people who manage to steal from her company. Vegeta notes. I would give you a painful death, but since Izuku already did the painful part for us, I think it's time we put your ass out of your misery, Bulma said. Oh yes! You thought you would walk out of this alive? Stealing from Capsule Corp is a felony, punishable by death, Niza said. Wait, what? I wasn't even the one to steal from them, you assholes. I paid someone to do that, Teshi mentally shouted at them. As much as he wanted to move, he couldn't. What was worse was the fact he couldn't see it coming. Finally, he felt a needle jab him in the neck as he let out one final breath. Good riddance, asshole! Bulma said. Saiyans tend to pick some scary women, Rashi said. You want some of this too? Bulma asked. Nope. I'm good, Rashi said, having a shiver go down his spine. I will notify the school tomorrow. I also want to bring in 2 new students, Niza said. What 2 new students would they be? Aizawa asked. Well, a girl from Shiketsu High named Kami Utsushimi, and another girl named Videl. Videl just so happens to be the daughter of the so-called world's champion, Niza notes. Of course, unlike her father, she managed to prove to be quite the hero on numerous occasions and is also the lover of Gohan, while Kami is the lover of Katsuki. By the way, Vegeta, are you planning to use the Dragon Balls to resurrect Katsuki Bakugo to train him? Of course. He'll get stronger, faster while training in the hyperbolic time chamber, Vegeta said. I thought so. Of course, I had no idea that Katsuki's father, as well as Endeavor, were Saiyans, Niza said. Hisashi, Maresu and Endeavor were a personal trio. Hisashi was the strongest of their trio with Endeavor the weakest, Vegeta said. I'm assuming that's why Endeavor isn't number 1, Niza asked. If I remember correctly, full-blooded Saiyans aren't supposed to have quirks because they only grow weak. Yes, Vegeta said. Excellent. You are all dismissed. I'll take care of our friend here and have him cremated, Niza said as he took a sip of tea. Chapter 12, Teshi's Descent into Hell. Teshi was standing in front of the king of ogres himself, King Yema. So, given your tattered gym clothes, you died at the UA Sports Festival? Yema asked. Yeah, they couldn't handle my superiority, Teshi said. Alright, whatever that means. I'll just make this quick, Yema said. First quick thing since I got here. I was in line for hours, Teshi said. Yeah, anyway. It says here that your name is Teshi Kajimoto and you're 16? Yema asked. Yep. My quirk is atomic energy, of which I don't have anymore, Teshi said. And you died by a lethal injection by Bulma? What did you do? Yema asked. It's not my fault she couldn't handle my awesomeness, Teshi said. Right. Anyway, let's take a look at your sins and OOH. Ah geez, Yema said in shock at the list of things Teshi had done. And this is just when you were in daycare? What can I say? Nobody stopped me, so I just did what I wanted when I wanted, Teshi said with a shit-eating grin. Yep. This is definitely a code orange, Yema said, pushing a button, setting off an alarm. What? Teshi asked, confused. Jane! Call gods and Mez. And Mr. Kajimoto? Enjoy the barbecue in hell, Yema told him. Excuse me? Teshi said. A hole then appeared under him as he fell through, screaming as he fell. After Teshi's plummet to hell, he started to open his eyes. He managed to make out what looked like a demon in a t-shirt that had hell written on it. Oh! Welcome to hell! You are our newest arrival. Please make yourself at home and get to know everyone. Come on, don't be shy, the demon said in a weirdly jolly tone. Oh God, that's annoying, Teshi thought. Teshi followed the jolly demon over to the people he was going to spend the rest of eternity in. There he saw villains from the past that gave the bravest people on Earth nightmares. He saw the tyrannical emperor, Frisia, the perfect being, Cell, and a bunch of people who served Frisia obediently, as well as the 2 Saiyan villains, Raditz and Hisashi. Don't be scared now. They are kept from using their ki. Go on. Go and introduce yourself, the demon said, pushing Teshi towards them before he left. All the villains looked at Teshi with a glare. The buck are you staring at? Teshi asked. Oh, nothing. Just some useless earthling who thinks he has what it takes to hang with the big shots, Frisia said. Oh, so I'm useless. Well, that's a nice white lizard body. How did you get it? Did that male stripper nut all over you? Teshi asked. Oh, I wish, Zarbin said in a sultry tone. Oh, by the way, I beat the living shit out of that crotch spawn of yours throughout preschool and middle school, Teshi said. Like I really give two shits about that failure. I would have done the same thing if I wasn't killed off so soon after he was born, Hisashi said. It makes me sick that my offspring decided to be a hero. Luckily, my other son, the one I had that affair with the demon chick, was sold to the most tyrannical villain on earth and lived like a real Saiyan. Sadly, because my younger son Izuku was it? He keeps wanting to protect those pathetic earthlings. I swear, if I was still alive, I would have killed that Inko hitch and kept Izuku on the right path. Okay, that's actually really dark, Raditz said. Yeah, well, I beat him daily every day I saw him, and turned everyone in preschool and middle school against him. Even the teachers. I would use my quirk on him every single day until he was in stitches and knocked out. Best part is, none of the nurses in that school wanted to even help him, and when he fought back, he would get in trouble, Teshi said. Not bad for an earthling. I'm assuming he finally snapped and killed you? Frisia asked. What? Oh no! He didn't kill me, Teshi said. Oh. Why don't we tell each other how we died? Zarbon said. That sounds stupid, Raditz said. Oh really? Are you just saying that because you're too embarrassed by your death? Dodoria asked. What? No. It's just Dash. Just what? The story of how your Saiyan pride got shattered in death? Cell asked. Alright. Fine. Let's get this bullshit over with, Raditz said, finally agreeing. All the villains then sat at a picnic table as they decided to get to know each other better. So anyway, who should we start with first? How about you, Raditz? How did you get here? Frisia asked. Oh god. Well, I was looking for my brother Kakarot. He decided to protect the Earthlings, and I got impaled by an energy blast by Piccolo, Raditz said, embarrassed. Cell started laughing at this. Really now? What did you do, Trip? Cell asked in hysterics. Hey, it wasn't funny. I was caught off guard and was held right in front of him, waiting to be shot, Raditz said. The hell is a Piccolo? Teshi asked. Just some green alien man that you probably never met before, Frisia said. Right. Let's make this quicker, Teshi said. Vegeta, Berter, Jees, Guldo, Zarbon and Dodoria said, all at the same time. My name is Rikum. It rhymes with doom. And Vegeta is the one who put me in my tomb, Rikum said, doing weird poses. Wait? You all died by Vegeta? No wonder he had an overinflated ego. You all fed him, Cell said. And I killed him, Frisia said proudly. So anyway, how did you die, Frisia? Cell asked. Well, in a way, I defeated myself, Frisia said. Before he was about to continue, he was interrupted by a certain someone who was not interested in hearing it. Ugh! Just tell us how you got here, Cell said. Fine. I was killed by the Super Saiyan. Since the big red man didn't like all of my deeds, he sent me here, Frisia said, grumbling. Well, I guess I should go next, Cell said. Yes, Cell. Please tell us how you, the perfect being who was mixed up with all the greatest fighters' DNA, Frisia said. Well, in a way, I defeated myself, Cell said. Are you shitting me? Sure, Zarbon shushed Frisia. My father was a brilliant scientist who created me in a sub-lab, made up of the DNA's greatest fighters in the universe, with the sole purpose of killing Goku. I had to absorb my two cyborg siblings to obtain my perfect form. But when Vegeta's son, a time-traveling half-Saiyan, went back in time, he killed them all. So, I had to murder him, steal his time machine and travel to the past. When I arrived there, I had to wait a year in my normal form for the two cyborgs to arrive, and finally, I became the perfection you see before you. Unfortunately, I was shot by Goku's crotch spawn and went out with a literal bang. And now here I am, Cell said. At that, there was silence before everyone started laughing. Oh, look out, everyone! I'm from the future. And I'm made up of everyone's DNA. I'm so original that I got killed by a whelp, Frisia said hysterically. Yeah, Gohan? Oh no! He was jacked. He was seriously powerful. Of course, I'm glad I fought him and not Hisashi's younger son. If they invited him, which they didn't because Vegeta is too insecure and stubborn to invite him, it would have been over much quicker for me, Cell said. I think we can all agree. I felt that kid's power level from miles away and he just keeps getting more powerful by the minute, Midoriya said. Shit, if only I was still alive, I'd force him to be on the path my eldest son is on right now, Hisashi himself said. Yeah, you said that already, Goldo said. I can't believe you're all afraid of a whelp, Frisia said, disappointed at the ones who served him. Oh please! You were just as scared, Frisia, Cell said. Oh, let's just move on. Next, Teshi Kajimoto. How did you die? Zarbin asked. I think you're all gonna love this story. Alright, when I got my quirk, I was damn positive that I would be destined to be a hero, Teshi said. Ugh. Gag me with a spoon, Frisia said in disgust. Anyway, while I was being so heroic in my own way, apparently a certain someone's son decided to steal my spotlight, Teshi said, looking at Hisashi, of which he just furrowed an eyebrow. So, after doing a little digging, I ended up finding out that Deku was the son of the villain who killed millions of people. So, I thought I'd teach the son of that villain his place, and beat the shit out of him every day until he snaps. Wait, you actually beat that kid up till he snapped? Cell asked. Yep, Teshi said proudly. Dear God, man? What were you thinking? No wonder you're here, Berta said, now terrified. Oh, it gets better, Teshi continued. So, a bit of a time skip when we're in middle school, I heard that Deku wanted to be a hero, so I scorched his hero book and told him to swan dive off a bridge because nobody wants a villain in their hero school, Teshi said. You know Saiyans can't kill themselves, right? Midoriya asked. How do you know? Teshi asked. That's just assuming. Do you know how much they train? It minus will be suicide, Midoriya said. Anyway, so weirdly enough, the school UA was blind enough to actually accept the villain's spawn into their school. I also tried to claim a hot chick for myself, but she would much prefer that villain over me. So, finally, during the sports festival of UA, I beat the shit out of all his minions, that round-faced hitch included, cupped a feel as well, if you know what I mean, and then broke her arm and a leg, Teshi said. Wait, did this girl happen to be that half-Science lover? Cell asked. Well, yeah, Teshi said, rolling his eyes. Say no more. You died by that Saiyan, didn't you? Cell asked. Weirdly, no. But the staff of UA were going to let him kill me, Teshi said. Of course they were. Earthlings can't stop the power of a Saiyan, Raditz said. Really? Because you're the one who got killed by Piccolo, Hisashi said. You got killed by Krillin. What's your point? Raditz shot back. Anyway, after Bulma found out that I hired someone to steal her power ring, she gave me a lethal injection, and now here I am, Teshi said. Wait, you stole from Capsule Corp? Frisia asked, surprised. Yes, I did, Teshi said, leaning back in his chair. Okay, now I'm impressed, Frisia said. Really, Frisia? You're impressed by that? Cell asked. Do you know how guarded that corporation is? Not even a death beam could get through that barrier, Frisia said. Well, anyway. It's your turn, tail villain. Teshi said. Well, there's not much for me to say, except I went to Earth, but to Demon Girl, who I can assume is an actual demon and not a quirk. She gave birth. I killed her and sold that boy to All for One. I wasn't satisfied there. I met a green-haired woman a few years later, bucked her as well. She gave birth, but I let her live for whatever reason. Went out and killed millions upon millions of people. Heroes tried to stop me, but I just killed them too. That one bunny-haired blonde put up quite a fight. He seemed to be the rival of that one Saiyan who was born with a quirk. NG, I'd assume. Finally, the two heroes Kakarot and his earthling friend helped him up, gave me quite a fight, but finally, my tail was grabbed and my neck met with a slicing disc by the bald earthling. Hisashi said. And after arriving here, I found out that my younger son, Izuku, has the same power as my older brother Broly, who just so happens to be so powerful that King Vegeta had to launch him to a faraway planet to die out of fear that he would overrule him. See, that's why I beat the shit out of your son to keep him beneath me, Teshi said. Not that I care, but why? Cell asked. Because he's the son of a villain, which makes him a villain too. The moment everyone trusts him, he'll go on a killing spree just like his father, Teshi said. Kid, I hate to break it to ya. Izuku is nothing like me. He actually wants to be a hero. I'm nothing but a cold-blooded killer who wanted to make half Saiyan children to serve Frieza and rule the world. Sadly, only one of my children is on that path while the other is trying to stop him, Hisashi said. I'm flattered, Hisashi. But you do realize I blew up your home planet, right? Frieza asked. Yeah, I didn't care about that planet anyway. I just want to kill anything and everything, Hisashi said. And what the hell makes you think your son isn't like you? Teshi said. Because I may have manipulated the people of Earth, but I killed them immediately after. Izuku, however, wouldn't need to manipulate anyone. If he wanted to, he could destroy the entire planet and even the solar system just by accidentally sneezing too hard, Hisashi said. And you rallied your classmates against him because he was better than you. You're almost like Frieza, Raditz said. What? I'm nothing like him, and I am better than that damn villain Spawn, Teshi shouted in rage. Never mind. More like Vegeta, Raditz said. Oh please! That monkey couldn't rally an army to save his life, Frieza said. By the way, I heard something about Deborah needing this kid for something, Raditz said. Wait, Deborah? Teshi asked. Yes, kid. Me, Deborah said from behind Teshi. Teshi turned around to see the same demon he met before the tournament. Come with me. Teshi got up from his spot and followed Deborah. Look! I had that damn nerd. He just caught me off guard is all. That's why I'm training you, Deborah told him. Wait, what? Teshi questioned. I didn't expect you to actually kill him, but you're the first Earthling who tried and fought a Saiyan with pure hatred. That's why I'm training you myself, Deborah said. Are you saying I'm weaker than that damn Deku? Teshi asked, getting angry. Far weaker, actually. You are an Earthling after all. But once you get done training with me, you'll be able to rule the world and have everything you ever wanted within your grasp, Deborah said. But first, I'll need to give you some demon energy. Deborah then brought his hand towards Teshi's face. Teshi then felt pain shoot through his body as a dark aura erupted from him as he collapsed. This is where your training begins. That demonic energy you have will grow stronger, but you must learn to control it or else it'll consume you from the inside out. Once you're done, you'll lead the people you met here with you, Deborah said. Meanwhile, at an unknown location, Tuya was sitting near the bar table in the hideout. He sent Toga to get a senzu bean from one of the students of UA disguised as one of the students thanks to a tie they had who just so happened to be one of the students of UA. She successfully came back with a senzu bean. Here you go, Mikumo-senpai, Toga said cheerfully. Thank you, Himiko. You have been very helpful, Mikumo told her. I'll help you with whatever you want, Mikumo. Just say jump and I'll say how high, Toga told him in a seductive tone. How about penetrate and you say how deep? Mikumo asked. Even better, Toga said with eyes of lust. Jesus, Buck. You two buck like wild rabbits, Dabi said. Shut up and eat your bean, Mikumo said. Yeah, future boss, Dabi told Mikumo. The monitor on the wall then turned on showing the boss of the LOV. Excuse me, Mikumo my boy. May I have a word with you? He asked. Of course, Mikumo said. He then looked at Toga. Wait for me in our bedroom, babe. I'll be there in a minute, he said as he slapped her butt as she had a smile on her face, making her way into their bedroom. Anyway, Mikumo, I think it's about time I tell you how my quirk came, All for One said. Oh really? You weren't born with it? Mikumo asked. Not entirely, Purse. Have you heard of how quirks were made? All for One asked. Something about a shiny child? Mikumo asked back. That's what history has recorded, yes. But the truth is a little deeper than that, All for One said. Have you by any chance heard of Dr. Gero? The mad scientist that created Cell? Yeah. I heard of him, Mikumo said. Well, I'll let you in on something. He's my father, All for One said suddenly. So, are you an android too? Mikumo asked. No, my dear boy. I'm still human despite my past. Before my father immortalized himself as an android, he wanted to advance humanity into something better. So, he built a device to fire out of the atmosphere and have humanity evolve. And now, we have these powers known as quirks. Year after year they started multiplying and got more powerful. People were able to control something or end up mutating altogether. After a while, he realized he made a mistake and people were becoming lawless beasts with these abilities they were given. So, he decided to create a being to take all of these quirks back. And so, he created me. He even had me absorb an android he created which can get stronger with each year. I foolishly gave that power to my brother when I tried to make him my right-hand man. That quirk is known as One for All. When Saiyans were making themselves known, my father was desperately trying to create androids to stop the Saiyans. One of those Saiyans, Android 19 I believe. When he absorbed Goku's energy, he was supposed to bring that power to me. Sadly, he was obliterated by that other Saiyan, Vegeta. Also, Cell was also supposed to serve me after he defeated the Saiyan race. No offense. None taken, Mikumo told All for One. Anyway, I'm telling you this because I still have the files and equipment that gave me this quirk in the first place. Once you have this quirk, I'll have you absorb this android that Dr. Garaki is building, as we speak. This android has the ability to absorb people's energy till they're nothing but dust. And if they have ki, it'll take that from the victim as well. Of course, the android isn't ready yet, but it will be soon, All for One said. Heh. With that kind of power, I'll basically be a god at this point. Not even my dear half-brother, Izuku, will be able to stop me. Mikumo laughed. Indeed, Mikumo. That's all for now, thank you, All for One said as the monitor turned off. Damn! I forgot how good I look without those scars. I look hot as hell, Dabi said, looking in a mirror. Congratulations. Now if you excuse me, I have a vampire chick to satisfy, Mikumo said as he walked towards his room where he saw Toga lying on his bed while lifting her skirt to show that she's not wearing any panties. I know you're a sadist, but I didn't know you were such a masochist too. Neither did I until I met you. Now come over here and make me your personal plaything, Toga said in a lustful tone. With pleasure, Himiko, Mikumo said.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.